Hey, hey, and a big g'day from the land down under, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for tuning in to Friday Night Six Pack or Friday Morning Six Pack or, well, whatever it is. So welcome to the show. So today we're going to be tackling something. I just quickly want to put a bit of a disclaimer out there at the start of it. We're going to be tackling some issues within the atheist community. So the first thing I want to say is if you're someone who is new to the atheist community or you're just coming across this as one of the early videos that you found in atheism, please don't think this is normal for atheism. Like any community, we've got some issues, and I'm wanting to address some of those issues tonight and some of the people. Now, the other disclaimer that I'm just going to throw out there is any opinion I offer is my opinion. It's not the opinion of any of my co-hosts or guests, and vice versa. Any opinion they offer, it's their opinion, not anything else. So that being said, let me bring in. We've got two of our regular co-hosts. The third one's running late because he had to work. So Jay will be here. So I know that normally if people think Jay's not going to be on, the viewers just drop to nothing. But Jay will be on, so don't panic. But that being said, let's bring in our two regular co-hosts. G'day, Ed and Jen. How are we? What's going on? I'm pumped.
Yeah.
It's Friday night.
More of the same. I'm away again, as everyone can see. Steve in the background. Other show.
You know what? My mother actually thinks that the most entertaining thing that can happen on Friday Night Six Pack is what happens in the background at Jen's place when you're away. So it's always interesting. I mean, there's swords in the background. There's someone cooking. There's things happening. It's always fun. It's always really good. So. And I've just been told that my mic's echoing. Okay, my mic is echoing. That's really a pain in the backside. What I'm going to do is I'm going to throw over to you, Jen. You introduce Ed while I sort out my technical issues.
I get to introduce you, Ed. Well, I don't know that the God himself actually needs any introduction. I mean, who needs to be introduced to God? I mean, this is the creator of all things, the one we all look up to, the one that every atheist prays to.
I don't know about all that.
Not Ed. Ed, our very own grumpy old dude. And what have you been up to, Ed?
I'm struggling right now. You guys will have to excuse me. My recording area is all jacked up. I'm in the process of hopefully getting a new sign up here. I still have Jay's crooked shelf, even though you can't really see what's on it. But Jay wanted me to keep the shelf, so I kept the shelf. I got all kinds of other stuff behind me. And I did put all my videos back up on my channel because apparently there are 320 people who told me they're not going to go anywhere. So,
and they're just the ones who are subscribed. Incidentally, if I'm still echoing people, let me know. Hopefully I have just fixed the problem. I am having some mic issues. It's really annoying.
It happens.
Mics at the moment, but
we forgive you, Chris.
Carrying on. And I'm just going to say there's more than 320 people who watch. That's just the people who are subscribed. I mean, the stuff you do, Ed, and I know that you had a rough week, and if you want to, this is probably a good night to talk about some of that stuff. And but mate, it's the main thing is that what you've got to know is there's a lot of love for you in the community. I mean, a lot of people were messaging me saying, "Hey, what's going on with Ed? What's up?" Like people were genuinely concerned. And
and people were messaging Amber, asking her what's going on and everything. And it may be a little while before I put up any new content besides the video I just put out yesterday, which was really quick. It's only a 5-minute video letting everybody know that I'm struggling right now, and I'm man enough to admit that. So,
and anyone who is, I just want to say, anyone who ever does have anything mentally going on or anything, there is a good community here of people who are prepared to talk and have a chat. Now, that being said, I'm going to bring in our first guest. The wonderful, the delightful Ilya Moon. Good morning, Ilya. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing quite well. I am drinking coffee and trying to make sure I'm awake enough to do this stream.
That's okay. Look, if you start if you just start rambling nonsense or garbage, it's pretty normal. So you'll fit in. So it's okay. Even if you start snoring, I mean, occasionally that'll happen on the stream.
Yeah. Well, if I start snoring, just yell in my ear and I'll, maybe not snore as loud. I don't know.
That's okay. We'll go quiet and then we'll record it. Put a soundtrack to it. Jay's really good with that stuff. I'm getting a lot of background noise. I think from you there, Jen.
From me? Oh yeah, you probably are. Do you want me to mute when I'm not talking?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe.
I might be able to put the mic down.
Depends on what you're doing with that mic.
I know
it's just that it's really good at picking up noise.
But yeah. Now, so as a lot of people know, we did advertise that Steve McRae was coming on tonight. Now, when people found out that I was doing some stuff with Steve, I did get a lot of messages from people telling me that there were a lot of people within the atheist community who wouldn't have anything to do with me if Steve was coming on or if I had anything to do with Steve. So look, I really want people to know that I did listen and I've heard what you've said. I understand that if I have Steve on the show, I'm going to be cancelled. So that being said, here's Steve.
What have you done? What have you done? Do you not know what you've just started? Oh my God, you're so done. I liked you too, but
the internet is all over.
Hashtag cancels.
Wow. And by the way, just to let you know, Jesus forgives. I get revenge.
Oh.
I hadn't noticed. You're so quiet and you don't really you're a bit of a wallflower on the internet.
I'm passive. I am very passive.
Yeah, completely.
Passive aggressive or just passive?
Just passive. No, just straight up passive.
I don't know why anyone would have a problem with you having Steve on. Steve is a delight in this community, and everybody knows that.
I'm so going to send that NASA shill check to you eventually.
Look, Steve pays me to be honest.
Cut that out and just
I do pay him.
Somebody goes at you, Steve.
Well, technically, yeah.
Yeah, actually, it's a true story. I actually do pay.
Yeah. When we do over and under, we share the we do share.
You got some pretty good beer money out of that so far.
Yeah. Hey, that's the reason I'm drinking the scotch I'm drinking. Yeah. No mucking around there. But it's interesting.
Bought you a drink.
He's bought me a drink. He's bought me a couple of drinks. But that's okay. But it's, I guess, and it's interesting, I guess, and that's part of what I want to talk about tonight because it's there is a bit of a challenge within the community at the moment. I guess I'm getting some background noise there.
Yes, I might.
This moon.
I think I was.
For some reason, it popped up on my phone, and I don't know why because I've not even. That's weird. My phone is haunted. It just automatically starts playing Atheist Pastor anytime he's on.
You know what? That's a feature that all phones should have. All phones. Every single one. I completely encourage
Atheist Pastor app.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? We can develop it. We can make it happen. There's a way.
Do we need a cancellation app? Is that what it is?
Well, yeah. You can cancel me straight after. It'll be really good. So, yeah.
Just a big red button that says cancel.
Now, so what I guess it's part of what I wanted to talk about, and the reason I kind of made a little bit of light about the stuff with Steve is because that's actually something that happened. When I started talking and doing stuff with Steve, I got bombarded with messages, people who refused to work with me now, and sort of approach some of the people who do. Six Pack and other things with me to say if you do anything with Chris because he does something with Steve, we won't do anything with you. Which is it's this cancel culture crap that's going on at the moment. It's really starting to. I don't want to say it's infecting the atheist community, but I think it has infected a lot of what's going on in the atheist community. And tonight I want to call out some of the woke crap and some of the, I guess, what I'd call the wolves in sheep's clothing, the people who claim they're atheists, but really they're just involved with the atheist community so they can promote every other bloody cause under the sun. So that's a bit, but there's times where I don't feel like I'm an atheist because I don't identify in any way, shape or form with what these people are saying, and I'm not just talking individuals, I'm talking organisations, and I'm talking large groups of people, and I'm talking people who view themselves as leaders within the atheist community, and people who are viewed as leaders, or certainly the bigger channels. So I do want to, I guess, bring some of that to light, and look, I do it with the best of intention. This isn't me wanting to whack everyone or to put people down, but I just want to make people aware that, especially when people are new and coming into the community, they're coming from a place of religion and indoctrination, and what they're being told about the atheist community is that it's this far left, and you've got a community that you've got to jump into this cause, that cause, that cause, and it's all about religion bashing, which isn't actually true. But then they jump into it, and what they're seeing on the face from these organisations and leaders is exactly that. So I want to talk about some of that. I want to talk about some of the things that I think all of us have gone through, and some of the struggles that we see. And ultimately, what I also want to do is talk about what we can do to fix it. Now, I know I say that, and we've got the king of the agnostics here, but look, the secular community is big, and we love you, Steve, so you are absolutely a part of it. So I guess one of the things, actually, I might pass across to you, Steve, because you are the one who seems to get cancelled, and it seems to be because ultimately this has all stemmed from a disagreement over a definition with some of the atheist leaders, and from what I can see, when you disagree with these atheist leaders, all their droves of minions kind of jumped on this hate bandwagon. Is that how you describe it?
Well, yes, no, there's a couple things I think of interest that you said that kind of stand out. First of all, I have not been canceled. I have 2 channels still. I have a very successful show with Cheshire, with Caffeine Corner. I do Over and Under with you. I'm still in litigation for the Non Sequitur show. My numbers are quite high. I still have my Patreon. I still have people that have joined my channel. I have quite a few members of my channel, so I'm hardly canceled by any stretch of imagination. I don't consider myself to be part of the atheist community, though, right? Obviously, I don't want to be a part of that community. I have issues with that community for the same reasons that you do. Now, I do like the fact that you mentioned secular, right? Because I am a secularist. You are a secularist, right? And that's generally what we find for people that adhere to atheism in some regard, is they want a separation of church and state, which is obviously something that many of us would say is a bandwagon we all get behind, right? I don't think anybody here really wants to have religion in schools or be indoctrinated in younger creationism, but they don't look at those kind of things. What they're looking at is that I disagree with them philosophically speaking, and I have actual logical arguments that have been unassailed that Matt Dillahunty and Aaron Ra and a lot of the atheist activists cannot assail. They've been told by logicians and philosophers these are valid and sound arguments, and so they just wave them by fiat away. And instead of addressing what I have to say, they rather go after soft targets, right? They rather go after a theist who has obviously many bad arguments. I mean, if we thought theists had great arguments, we would probably be theists, correct? But instead of looking at the things that we have in common, they rather look at the diversification on topics. And then, as Atheist Pastor has said, if you don't agree with them on those other topics, you're all of a sudden excluded from the group. And if atheism is going to be the group that wants to have the rationalism, the logic, the secularism, the promoting of, humanism, whatever that is, I don't have a problem with that. But when they start diverging into politics, and they start diverging into like veganism and all these other things that seem to be attached to this is reminiscent of Atheism Plus. And I got to tell you, that didn't go over very well.
No. And actually, something I've noticed in the atheist community is there's a strong alliance at the moment for some reason with the polytheists of all things.
Yeah.
That to me makes no sense.
That's been there for a long while.
That to me makes no sense. It's because
now wait, Chris,
theist being the obvious word.
Are we talking about polytheists that believe in many different gods, or are we talking about polytheists as in the political theists who view people as some kind of higher being, whether it be Trump or Biden?
Oh, that's a whole other religion on itself. No, I'm talking about the people who like Zeus, Thor, and all of those characters, and which they are entitled to actively believe in. I just don't understand where the crossover into the atheist community comes, and even to the point where I've disagreed with a polytheist, and I've been told by other atheists I need to be more respectful. I'm like, hang on, you've just spent the last hour smashing the Bible.
Here's where the crossover comes through. Some of these polytheists were atheists, and they were part of atheist communities and organizations. And then they decided, hey, there's this whole little community over here of polytheists where I can get a bunch more subscribers and people will watch my videos. So I'm going to be a polytheist now.
You think they're using it as a vehicle?
Yeah.
Okay.
That might be true in some cases, and I tend to disagree. Though I think more the bounds where they come alongside each other is more to do with secularism, because you don't necessarily need to be an atheist to be secular.
Yeah.
No, theists tend to be secular as well, because you can imagine if you, if you were a Christian and all of a sudden the Muslim or Islam became the predominant religion of choice in the United States, they would not be happy with that. So they have recognized that, look, they're not going to have a theocracy. They're, unless Jesus himself comes down and takes, the White House, that's not going to happen. And most theists are intelligent enough to go, okay, we're not going to get our particular denomination of choice. Therefore, we need to keep it separate.
How much Trump thinks he's Jesus.
Yeah, well,
I don't think Trump believes in
I have a question about
Jesus.
rocks for you, Steve.
Uh-oh.
Do you think some atheists actually lack stones?
I know a lot of atheists who do lack stones. They won't confront me, that's for sure.
Fair enough.
Well,
I'm just turned off by the.
Sorry, Ilya. Yep.
I was just going to say, I'm really turned off when I look at the atheist community by the egotistical misogyny that I see with some of the top quote unquote leaders. That to me doesn't represent secular beliefs whatsoever when it comes to equal rights. They say they want equal rights, but yet here they are, a bunch of white dudes leading the atheist community and shutting other people down for having a different opinion. To me, some of them look no different than what we complain about with Christianity.
And they're followed like pastors or religious figures, and that's not always their fault. I think that's a part of the human psyche in a way. But
isn't it though? A lot of ex-theists do follow a lot of atheist activists, and the reality is, if somebody leaves religion or leaves theism, they don't automatically become critical thinkers. They don't automatically develop the ability to go, okay, I can assail this certain arguments. And so what they do is they basically piggyback on what atheist activists have to say, whether they understand what the atheist activist is saying or not. They just parrot it, and it becomes like a mantra to them. I've seen this happen so many times. I can literally tell you what some atheist is going to say before they say it on a comment when they read something that I write, because it's just almost like a Pavlovian response with them.
I think that comes down to when you become an atheist. Sorry, I think that comes down to when people become an atheist due to rejecting religion rather than through critical thinking. So they have a rejection of the religion itself, and they go, "Oh, I'm going to be an atheist," and then you're almost falling into that thing that you like Ray Kupferwatz when he goes, "Oh, you just want to hate God," and they almost are. He's almost right for some of them. And then you've got those of us who get to where we are through critical thinking.
Yeah, and obviously the thing I have against Ray Comfort on that particular statement is that if you hate God, and I'm talking about God the object, not the concept, you would be a mesotheist, which is a subgroup of theism. An atheist could not hate an object that they do not believe exists, right? I mean, that makes no sense. Yeah. You can hate the concept. Look, by the way, I don't actually mean this, but if I say I hate Superman, right? People know that I'm referring to I hate the fictional thing of Superman. It doesn't mean I believe Superman exists, right? I clearly do not believe that Superman exists. So when they say atheists hate God, it's not really making any sense, right? Because they're just saying somebody hates a fictitious creature to them, rather than hating something that might actually exist. So they don't actually hate God, because if to do that, they have to believe that God exists.
So you're a Superman. You're not a Superman.
Yeah, Ubermensch.
So hang on, Steve. Can we talk about what's your problem with Superman?
I love Superman. No, I told you it's a hypothetical, man.
Cancel. Absolutely. You know what?
I
can put up with everything else, but cancel.
Big red
Hey, incidentally, and Steve, I'm glad you're here because I want to.
I'm glad I'm here too. I woke up for this.
I want to clear something up, and we just this is a good time to do it. Okay, Steve. Before the votes were counted, election day, I jumped on a stream with you, correct?
Yes, you did.
And I told you who I hoped would win the election in the US.
Yes, you did.
Do you remember who I said?
Trump.
No, I didn't.
No, dude, I have your prediction here. It was Trump like 286?
Oh, no, not who I thought would win.
Oh.
Who I wanted to win.
Oh, no, you wanted Biden to win.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Far out. Yeah, don't do that to me, Steve. No, it's. I just wanted to clear that up.
Yeah.
You said. I offered. Yeah, I just want to say to people, I did offer a lot of political opinions because, I just want to make sure I'm not a hypocrite here.
No.
When I do political stuff,
you thought based upon the political spectrum here that it was probably going to go to Trump. Yeah.
So I just want to get that out there because I've been copying a bit of flack over that.
You're right.
Over other stuff, but and I also want to clear up because I am going to have a go at people using atheism for politics. Whenever I do political stuff, and I do political stuff, I've studied political science. I'm a historian. It's actually what I do partially for a living. So I'm someone who can talk on these things. What you'll notice is whenever I do anything political, I use my name. I use Chris Atlee. I don't use Atheist Pastor for that. So I try and, even though they're both things that are a part of my life, what you're going to find is on this channel, you are not going to find, especially anymore. I did try and mix both. It didn't work. You are not going to find any political stuff here. So I just want to be pretty clear about that. So when I go after, or when I talk about some of the atheists who are using it as basically using atheism as a political platform, yes, I do understand that some people may view hypocrisy. People want to do that, that's fine. I just wanted to get that explanation out there early. And
can I throw a little pushback on that?
I don't like Trump.
Yeah, let me throw a little pushback on there because I have to be objective as much as possible. I don't mind per se atheists having some political views in atheism and using atheism to do political changes, because if their goal is secularism, right? If their goal is to get young creationism out of the school system, then you have to do it politically. I don't have an issue with that. It is when they add in all the other things, when they start talking about LGBTQ, T rights, LGBTQ rights, and abortion, and anything that's non-secular related. Which, by the way, I have no issue with those things. They need to be discussed. But why does it have to be on the atheist platform to do that? Right? What does that have anything to do with atheism at all? It really doesn't.
They're also secular, though, Steve.
But again, secularism would be
or at least the aim is for them to be part of the sect.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I don't mind when atheists use politics to that means, but as you start adding in all these other things, now you have more division. Now you have, if you don't agree with me, then you have to be X'd from the atheist community, kind of thing, right?
That doesn't make sense.
No, not at all. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with people saying you can be X'd from my community because you don't agree with me. That's fine. That's what blocks are for.
Yeah, and so I think that
to say to expel somebody from the community completely for their point of view is a little bit different. Although there is a point, I suppose, when somebody's point of view can be so anti
egregious,
the dominant secular point of view, where they probably don't really fit with the community anymore.
Right. No, I totally agree with that. Look, I mean, if you're a group and you're advocating for gay marriage and gay rights, and somebody's homophobic, you probably don't want them around. I'm
not gonna. I wouldn't have anything to do with someone like that anyway.
Right, exactly.
The exception being if there's someone who is in a religious background and we can have a conversation that might change their mind. Because I know there's plenty of religious people who have become atheists, who at one point have held different views when I was, religious.
If they're an honest interlocutor, if they're somebody who you think will objectively look at things and evaluate arguments, then sure. I think there's a point where you have to cut your losses. There are certain people we all know, certain people, very large names on Twitter that are not going to change their position. I mean, the one person who I can't stand, if you know Pastor Locke.
Oh, yeah.
Right. He's not going to be somebody that you're going to have a conversation with that's going to change his position. It's not going to ever happen. I mean,
He's fun to pick on occasionally, though.
Ridicule is fine. I think his positions are worth ridicule.
But he's also not a part of the atheist community.
No, correct.
Or he's not someone who would identify as atheist. And you might get someone who does identify as atheist, who holds... And look, I think when it comes to things like LGBT rights, I think that's kind of obvious things in society. I mean, most religious people hold to that. I think personally, I wouldn't necessarily want too much to do with someone who, for reasons I found offensive, held those views, and that's fine. There's no issue there. And there's also no issues with people who are in the atheist community having and expressing a political opinion.
Right.
The problem I've got is when that is the entire point of your atheism, is promoting individual political causes that really aren't tied in with atheism. That's where I kind of draw a line.
All right, let me give you a perfect example of that. I'm a big fan of Cosmic Skeptic, right? I don't agree with him on a few things, and we've had. Are you okay? What?
I can't stand him. That's all.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. So behind the scenes, Alex and I have had many correspondences with each other. We talk about philosophy, and he has changed his position a few times based upon what Rationality Rules and myself and a few other people have to talk to him about, because he had some pretty strange positions when it came to morality back in the day. But he obviously is an ethical vegan, which has absolutely nothing to do with atheism. But he's at least trying to change the perception people have of him from, being this atheist spokesperson to what he wants to do with his talk about veganism. I don't have a problem with that. It's when, before he was using atheism as a vehicle to his, political agenda, which is,
Yes, and that's my problem with him.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that is a problem. Absolutely. And I think he's recognized that, and I think he's trying to stay away and separate.
I got no time for him anymore. Between what he did with that and the things he said about bushfires in Australia, he can just fuck off.
Yeah, I don't know his positions on that, to be honest with you.
I've got no interest. Can we address the points that both Dave and Jeff put up Jeff's tweet?
Yep.
Tweet, message, DM.
Yep. Which one?
To Steve. Jeff put up a message to Stephen Craven. On the other hand, that's it. But where you have religious groups making a political issue of LGBT issues, or Dave also pointed out abortion and stuff like that, isn't it natural for atheist groups to also tackle those issues? And
I don't know, is it? I mean, here's the thing.
I think it probably is, Steve.
It might be tangentially. Like, for example, I don't think it's like, as Atheist Pastor said, people have individual positions, and of course, as an atheist, you should express those and obviously fight for what you believe in. But I see in certain corners of atheism that those are the predominant issues. It's not even about atheism anymore.
No, I agree with you. I like that whole atheism plus stuff in the past. I agree with you in that sense, but I don't disagree that it's wrong for atheists to fight for these issues while still fighting for the issues that would directly affect people who are atheists.
Mm-hmm.
So as part of fighting for what we consider secular issues and atheist issues, I don't think that there's necessarily a problem. As long as you're not saying that you're fighting for this because you're an atheist.
Yeah, I agree, and I would argue it this way. Yeah. I think you're right, but I would argue it this way. Maybe from this perspective, reality is a lot of the hostility towards gays and trans comes from theism. I mean, let's just put all cards on the table. They're back asswards on their ideological beliefs because of what the Bible, or they think that the Bible says. And if atheists use it from that perspective, that they want to change the minds of people, where, to either A, no longer believe in God where they have those types of beliefs, or at least modify their belief that that's not what the Bible actually says, I have absolutely no issue with that. I think that's absolutely what they should be doing. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
But on a side note to that, this is where I stand out to the side of atheists, because in the atheist community, it's like, well, we don't have any real position. We're just lack of belief. We're just, not taking a stand on this.
That's that contrast, isn't it? Where it's like, all atheism is a lack of belief.
It's so ridiculous.
Now I'm going to argue about these moral issues.
Right, exactly.
In all fairness, the reason they say there's atheism is a lack of belief is because that way you can bring a lot more people into your organization.
Right. No, it's
that's the reality of it. That's the reality.
No,
I guess with the political side of things, and I guess to address what you guys have said. So personally, I'm someone who supports LGBT issues, absolutely, completely, wholeheartedly. And me as an individual, I'm going to stand up for those, and I'm going to speak out on those where I think it's appropriate for me to do so. However, I wouldn't expect, say, Atheist Alliance International to then do the same, because that's not what they're there for.
Right. You only split your time and resources so much. Yeah. No, I totally agree.
So I think it can be a dangerous crossover when, and it seems to always flick to one particular side of politics with all these groups allying. And I think that it's fine for the individual to ally. And like say, I could sit here and say, hey, there's something egregious going on to do with LGBT issues within my community, and it's something I want to speak out against and fight against. But if I was the head of an atheist group, or if it was on an atheist show, I wouldn't necessarily use that as the platform to make the entire organization about that.
That's what genetically modified skeptic at least formulates a coherent argument, which is the same thing I've told people. Look, if you're going to have a utility argument saying the reason why we want to have everybody on the umbrella of the term atheism is for demographic reasons, political reasons, and make change, that is a good utility argument. Now, do I think it's convincing? No, I think there's many problems with it. I think it actually has a backfire effect. I think it actually causes more harm than it does good. If that was your end goal, I could argue consequentialism at that point. But at least it's an argument, right? At least he has a reason for doing what they do. And it wasn't until a few years ago that people started recognizing it was for political motivations. But I remember years ago, I'd tell people, look, this is a political motivated thing started by Anthony Flew and Michael Martin back in the early 70s. And they looked at me like I was insane. And then people started looking into it, reading about it, and go, oh, well, yeah, actually, this is the case. And then people came out with American Atheists and Aaron Robbie saying, yeah, there's a political thing, absolutely. But I'm not politicized when it comes to that. I don't think that that's the best way to promote your agenda by, to me, one, putting out misinformation, two, ignoring critical thinking, rationalization, and logic, and three, a lot of people don't want to be subsumed in that title of atheist merely because you're trying to have some political group. If they wanted to do that, they would join that political group. But I'm not in that political group. And I think that's dishonest.
I think part of the problem is it's being argued the wrong way around. If you want to spread the base, you'd be better off saying you're better off describing us as an agnostic and atheist secular group, and include both by separating them.
Oh yeah, I absolutely.
Rather than saying, oh no, you're going to now all be atheists, because that is, I mean, for a group of people who want to push ideas where you're saying people are allowed to define yourself, and then all of a sudden saying, except for in your belief system.
Do you know how many times Matt Dillon has said, oh wait, if you don't believe in God, you're an atheist? And I say, hey Matt, no, I don't believe in God, but I'm not an atheist. And he's just like, you're wrong. And he's like prescriptively telling me that I have to adhere by his usage of terms, which are we all know are not very common. What?
Which look, that's fine that he holds that definition. I mean, look,
absolutely. You can hold
whether someone's an atheist or not. I'm happy for people to identify in the way that they want to.
Yes.
So if someone tells me that, look, I tend to think that it's not a lack of belief. I've kind of come around to the thought that it's probably an active disbelief. But if someone says to me, look, I'm an atheist simply because I just lack a belief, I'm not going to stand there and say, no, you're not an atheist. There seems to be a lot of that, people wanting to argue on definitions. I mean, at the end of the day, if it's probably the secular banner is the one that we should all be under.
I agree with you, absolutely. But let me ask you this. What do you think is more effective against a theist? If you had, and I'm just going to throw some examples out there. Let's say you had Ed here, who's a staunch atheist. He believes gods are all BS. There's no gods in the universe. Then you have Moon, and I know it's not her position, but let's just say she says, well, I don't hold that position. I just lack a belief God exists, right? Those are vastly different positions. Who's going to be better against a theist? Ed saying, hey, look, let me tell you why I think your gods are BS, and show all these arguments for atheism, right? Logical problem, evil, evidential problem, evil, divine liars, paradox, ontological problems, moral problems. And yet you just have Moon there going, hey, I just don't believe you. What is more effective? If your goal is to convince people that God does not exist, or at least create a more secularized society to get young earth creationism and religion out of schools and our government, who's going to have a better argument against a theist? The lack of belief
Well,
person, or the person who actively says, "Look, I'm going to tell you why there's no gods."
I mean, it would depend on the shirt I was wearing on what would be more effective.
That's what you go by, whatever slogan is across your
I'm
chest
kidding.
at the time, yeah, or on the back.
I would say it would depend on the argument. I just want to bring up something Vandalia has said, and hello to Vandalia, good to see you again, mate. And he's put a couple of similar comments in the chat. And I think it's actually a really good point that can be made here. When he was still going to church, he was the person wondering why they had voting information talked about at the church, and that is a thing. I mean, the churches are getting political.
Yes,
and I think that it's a natural. I mean, look, and most churches do lean to the right. There's no, the vast majority will lean to the right. I think, especially in the United States, it seems to be they're almost intertwined. So I can understand why atheists tend to go completely the other way, because it's like it's part of what they're breaking away from. And look, I guess the churches use that, all these evil left-wing atheists who are going to brainwash your children and make your boys wear dresses and all that kind of garbage that they put out there in the churches. But really, are we just doing the same thing that the churches are doing? Are we just blindly following something because of how we identify, rather than looking at the individual topics, the individual issues, and then making a judgment on those?
I think some people within this community are doing that. Quite a few. I'm one of those people who I'm kind of pissed off that I voted for Biden now. Because of certain things that have happened to me since Biden got elected. And I wasn't going to vote for Trump or Biden. I was going to vote for a third party. And I had people telling me, oh, if you do that, you agree with racism, even if you're not a racist, because you're taking votes away from Joe Biden. You said the same thing Trump supporters said to people about voting for Trump. Oh, don't take votes away from Trump. And then I had, don't take votes away from Biden. If you don't vote for Biden, you're giving a vote to Trump. It became a cultish mindset, and I got sucked into it. And I've said this many, many times on my channel. I don't like being lied to. And I feel like a lot of people lied to me because Joe Biden is a piece of shit. Change my mind.
Well, here's the thing. What do you do when you have a situation where you're limited to two options and neither one of them are any good?
But we aren't limited to two options.
Well, after the primaries, I mean, for the primary votes, the general election, there are only two options. I mean, we only have two options.
That's a lie.
Well, okay. Effectively speaking, let me correct. Hang on, let me correct it. I want to correct. Effectively speaking, sure, you can vote for independents, you can vote for write-ins. Okay, granted. Okay,
you can vote for the Green Party, the Libertarian Party.
But do they really stand much of a chance? Probably not. Correct.
Joe Jorgensen did.
When was that?
Joe Jorgensen, the Libertarian Party.
Oh, Libertarian Party.
Yeah, look,
I mean, all other parties got 1.8% of the.
Yeah, it's significantly reduced.
It's less than the population
of
Australia.
We have a,
and that's because everybody who backs the Democrats and the Republicans forced her out. They wouldn't let her speak. She got kicked out of every freaking debate and everything else.
It's because you have a two-party system.
Yeah, it's a two-party system.
Yeah, and everybody.
I think that's something that's inherently wrong in the US politics, and that's.
I don't disagree.
Killer fish.
We have the same problem here, Chris. So don't get me wrong.
Yeah, even well, actually, no, it's not too bad because we've got
not as bad. Not
so
as
we
bad
will see. Voting. Yeah, we will see minor parties actually get into office here. But certainly, win seats.
Here's my issue, though. Here's my issue, though. People within the atheist community, people that I highly respected and thought I had a pretty good relationship with, literally tried to guilt trip me. They didn't try. They did. They guilted me into changing my mind and voting for Biden because they made it all about this racial issue within the United States. If you don't vote for Joe Biden, you support racism.
Yeah, and that doesn't follow. That's not even a rational argument.
Yeah, but I mean, there is the legit argument though is if you didn't vote for Biden, you are actually helping Trump get re-elected. That is a legitimate thing.
Well, it depends. It depends on the state you're in, because say you
Yeah,
voted
that is
third.
true.
Okay, let's say in Pennsylvania you voted third party. Now the difference between Trump and Biden wins. The difference between Biden and Trump is less than the third party vote. So if you voted third party in Pennsylvania, you actually helped
made no difference.
Biden win. Well, no, you helped Biden win, because if you had voted, if all the third party voted Trump, well then that's the way it would have gone. So that's actually a really that argument can go both ways depending on the state that you're in.
Oh yeah, it does depend on the state. I agree with
And
you, Chris,
if it's that close that voting for a third party, you're not actually helping candidate X necessarily win. You could also be helping candidate Y. It doesn't. It's actually a really poor argument. But I do want to kind of jump off the US political stuff, because I've got to be honest. I am so over American politics.
Let me go a quick rejoinder before you do that, because I think people should see the fallacious argument that Ed was exposed to, because you cannot base something on a single litmus position. For example, if Ed loves puppies but hates kittens, and Moon loves kittens but hates puppies, if you vote for one, you can use the argument, hey, you're voting for somebody who hates puppies, you're a bad person. Oh, and the other person, you're voting for them, you're voting for somebody who hates kittens. Either way, you're SOA. You cannot base those things. It's a form of what's called emotional manipulation. You were emotionally manipulated, straight up. Would you all agree?
I would, but I'm going to have to go because we've got dinner and then we've got stuff we're doing. Yeah, I told you, Chris, I couldn't be here.
We never get too much quality time together any longer.
No,
move to the States, will you finally?
How about? I am moving, but not to the States.
Oh.
But, how about I annoy people on my channel and at some point because I've been studying doing a stream called Stump Jen, where I get people in the chat to ask questions about all sorts of topics to see if they can knock me off kilter so I can't answer them.
Mm-hmm. I can bring my 0.99 repeating equals 1 argument to you, and
yeah,
I know you love math.
I do love math, but it would be something that would be fun at some point, Steve, to organize to do with you.
Yeah,
probably not with some of the other people that I have on, because some of them can't stand you. But that's how I've said to people.
Screw them.
I get along with Steve, and I know you guys don't, so I won't make you guys cross paths. But don't judge me on who I like or dislike. Is entirely up to me.
Guilt by association. And here's the thing, you and I would love to do something like that, because we don't care if we're wrong. If people stop us, we're like, hey, okay, well let's look it up, man. I don't. That's how you learn things.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why I like this show format, because if I get stumped, I learn something, because hopefully somebody in the chat can tell me what the answer is, or I have to look it up, or whatever else it is. And it's good fun, and mostly people go and throw questions from topics I don't know anything about, but the last couple of them, they've been throwing physics and maths questions at me.
Nice.
It's been a lot of fun, so it's been good.
I can't watch those streams, and the reason I can't watch those streams is every time I watch it, I realise how dumb I am, not knowing any of this stuff. Because you'll start spurting out this science, and it's just, and it's just so casual, and it's this and it's that, and I just like
open a book on 3rd grade biology, and he's like, what?
I'm like H2O is the what? The who? The how?
You know Matt, who was on not a doctor, the guy who's doing his PhD in physics at the moment. No, you don't, Chris. So okay, he's been on a few of my streams and that he's pretty brilliant. Anyway, he did a video about laser sharks. Could you put lasers on sharks, and would there be any? Yeah, he did a thing debunking it anyway, because we want to do these set of videos about debunking sci-fi weapons because they're crazy. But he messaged me and said, "Can I send you the script, Jen, to proofread it and make sure I got everything right?" I go, "Hang on, you're doing a doctorate. I don't have a doctorate in physics. Why are you sending this to me?" He goes, "Because you'll spot the errors. You're one of the few people I know who will spot them if I make them." Okay.
Hey, that's a
huge compliment, but hey.
I've sat in universities with people who are studying a variety of different topics, and people who are doing PhDs and postgrad stuff. And I can tell you, there are some dumb people who are doing those things. That's not always.
Oh no, that's not dumb. He was just like, your general knowledge for this stuff is pretty.
Oh no, but what I'm saying is, you don't always want to send it to those people, because I mean, look, let's face it. At the end of the day, Kent Hovind's a doctor.
Yeah.
So there's doctors and there's doctors.
Yeah, there's doctors and there's doctors. So yeah, it's been good to see you again, Steve. It's been awesome being with you earlier again. And sorry I couldn't fill in for you. Well, I can't fill in for you on Sunday, but I know you've got Hissy, so that's all good. And make sure you go and sub to Ilya and Steve, if you're down there and everything, and have a great rest of the stream, Chris and Ed.
Absolutely.
And so,
we always do.
I was hoping I'd hang around till Jay got here, but you can always lie to him and tell him, Jen left because she didn't want to see.
Yeah, I'll just say, what did you say to Jen?
Yeah.
What did you do? What have you done to her? You upset her. We'll throw that in. But look, Jen, thanks for coming. Everyone, if you're not sub to Jen, go sub to Jen.
Thank you.
Love you, Jen.
Love you too.
Now,
bye.
It's good to see Tangela's here. Someone did somebody. I've got some bad news for you. I won't be converting to Christ. It's probably not going to happen. But anyway, I guess stranger things have happened. Atheists are spiritually dead. Yeah, well, I guess so. Can't argue that. But anyway, it's all fun, isn't it? It's all fun. So, look, I guess that's some of the things that I wanted to cover. And I guess I wanted to throw to all of you as well. You know what? One leaves and one shows up. We've got Jay, who is just about to pop in when his device connects.
I love Jay.
Yeah, he's a reasonably tolerable person.
Tolerable. He's within the margin of acceptability.
Well, somewhat. So he
kind of on the fringe margin.
He popped in and popped out. So maybe he's not that tolerable after all. But so I want to throw across to you, and you can share as much or as little. And I think you already have sort of covered some bits, but I think you've kind of been someone who's been smashed and victimised for not jumping on the groupthink, and I've actually seen you and people trying to exclude you from the atheist community as a result, which we will talk about in 2 seconds. I am just going to very quickly bring in Jay, so bear with me one minute.
Hey, I
Jay,
just missed her.
I love you. I'm going to get some coffee, though.
Go for it.
No problems. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go and fill up my drink, because it is Friday night six pack. So Jay, while I'm doing that, why don't you tell everyone, say hello to everyone, tell us what's going on, and then we'll throw back to Ed. And if you just want to cover some of that stuff we were talking about, that would be unreal.
Hello.
Hey, fucker.
What's up, fuckstick?
How was work, honey?
It sucked. It's work. 10-hour days. I got to work. I'm already at 50. I got 8 more to do tomorrow.
Oh, man. Yeah, well, at least you're working.
Yeah. So everybody left. What the hell? Ilya's not here. Steve went to get coffee. Chris took off. Jay's gone. Jay's gone. Yeah, I left. See you later. Bye.
All right, so it's my show now.
All right. Punchy and Stalker.
So what Chris was alluding to is pretty much this whole thing that happened to me over this past week, few days, maybe a little more than a week. I have an issue, and it's a personal issue. I'm not asking people, to follow my ideas. But if you tell me I'm wrong and tell me that, come up with your own ideas of why I'm a racist, you're wrong. I will no longer support the organizational structure of BLM that does not believe that I don't believe in the concept of Black Lives Matter. But the organization itself will no longer get my support. If that offends you, don't have anything to do with me. but don't dare try and tell me that I'm a racist or a white supremacist because I won't support an extremist group. Period.
I take a similar position where I support the concept of BLM in its purest form. Absolutely. I mean, how can you not? There's clearly issues in the States. But I think the actual organisation itself, I do take issue with a lot of that and the politicisation of that, and some of the methods. But I do have a problem when people are told that they must raise the fist, and if they don't actively go out and support it, that they're racist. I don't think that's the case, and I think especially in your case, as someone who I would say you are an expert in this field. I mean, you've lived and breathed it. So I think when people just go in this mindset of blind following, it's an issue. But where I really saw an issue was the amount of people who are atheist leaders who just wanted to cancel you as a result. So all the good work that you're doing, simply because you didn't take a political position. Mine
is a little bit bigger than that. When I went to these people and told them that I was victimized, well, that's your fault.
Yeah, I've seen that as well with certain people I know. They've done the same thing with. I was in. You may not know this, but I was in a little DM group, about 20, and I'm not gonna say who it was, but it was a man, 20, 25 atheist, and Cheshire was talking about, and she was relating a victim story. They didn't give a damn about her, only because she associated with me, and she left the group, and I got removed subsequently after but I'm like, yeah, it's very selective of who they choose to stand up for. If you're not one of them, it doesn't matter. It's not about the objective nature of somebody being a victim or objective nature of somebody being wrong. There are people that I frickin' cannot stand, that I literally will say that I hate. If something has done wrong to them, if they, legit has said misinformation about them, I'm happy to say that is wrong. I'm not the kind of person to go, oh look, let's say I hate Chris Atlee, but they said about him this about him, and I know it's not true. I'm going to say that's just not true about him. Matter of fact, the reason why you should do that is if you really do dislike somebody, you don't want misinformation about them. You want the facts, because that's what's going to damn them.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the little boy who cried wolf, and that's actually one of the things that. And once again, I don't want to jump on the politics side of things too much. But one of the things when we do Way Over and Under, and I talk about, it's the misinformation that goes out there about Trump. It only helps him, because what happens is if you just keep putting out all these exaggerations and false stories, it feeds into anything. And when he does stuff wrong, he just goes, fake news.
They'll latch onto the
minuscule thing. Because the last 9 things have been fake, that one thing that isn't fake, he can get away with saying fake news.
Well, look at my position. Anything that I say that I even remotely minor is either me misspeaking or that I got something wrong. They'll latch on, and for years they'll bring that stuff up, even though I've corrected it multiple times. And it's like you get to the point where how many more times do I need to correct something? It's just here.
Now, I'm just going to clarify. Yes,
it's unfortunate.
Well, I'm going to say this about Amanda's comment. That is not a mustache.
Neither is yours.
That's a dirt stain.
So's yours.
Hey, listen, I can pull online.
So hang on.
Chris, is that penciled in? Is that like mascara or something?
It feels like. So the problem I've got is quite funny. We've got this thing in Australia. It's called Movember. So it's every November you grow a moustache to raise money and awareness for cancer. It's normally for prostate cancer and mental health issues. A lot of different groups will jump on to Movember. So that's what I'm doing now. It looks really bad, but the problem I've got is when I grow a moustache, it's blonde. So it's actually it's blonde and ginger in there. So it's not actually, it just doesn't match my hair color. So it looks funny. So if I had the matching hair color, it'd probably be okay. But what I did say to Melissa is I was going to grow it out like that because it's blonde. I was going to go for the full-on Hulk Hogan. And so when I first did, I started doing the whole. Everywhere she walked around, she told me I was an idiot, and to stop. And then she got angry at me. So
I did the long goatee for a while. It just wasn't my thing.
Yeah, no, this will be a this will just be a this is a November thing. At the end of November, everyone shaves it off ceremonially, and we've hopefully all raised some money. And incidentally, if anyone does want to donate, I will put some links down, and or just go to movember.com.au and donate. You can donate on behalf of me, or you can just donate anonymously. It's all for good cause. So, but yes, well spotted, Amanda. Well spotted. It doesn't look the best on the small screen.
So before I went to go coffee, to kind of address what you were saying about me being canceled out of the atheist community, it's kind of funny because when the atheist community stands on a pedestal and says, look, we want you to believe us because we're the critical thinkers. We're the ones that use logic and reason, because that's effectively what they try to do, right? But then you present to them an actual logical argument using logical notation, using classical logic that is both valid and sound, because they keep asking, do you have a valid and sound argument? They run through the hills. I have yet to this day had any atheist, especially Matt Dillahunty or on Raw, address either of my two most popular blog post. One of them is an actual proof called the WASP argument, weak atheist special pleading argument, and the other one is just an explanation of the gumballs and God that Matt Dillahunty kind of runs with I think that he kind of just so
that's his shtick. And I mean, look,
and I put them in the private chat there if you want to add them later so people can read them, because again, I welcome anybody to try to refute those.
And look, Matt's got an audience, and he's got a target demographic that he speaks to, which is generally, I guess, the angry atheist crowd. You know, he does the hang up thing, and that's cool. I actually don't mind Matt. I don't agree with everything he says. I certainly think a lot of sometimes I think he carries on a little bit too much, but it's not necessarily him that's the problem. It's the people who revere him and look up to him. And you're right when you say, Steve, no, you haven't been cancelled. You're too big to be cancelled. But what you do notice is people will go after the people who associate with you.
Yes, they do.
And it was interesting you brought up Chesh before, and I'll actually bring up like Chesh and Sweet Heathen, who are both women who associate with you. Some of the vile and horrible things I have seen said about them, I can assure you, it's
and that's from the atheist community. Those are people that follow them and that for years have been doing that to me and anybody that I associate with, and they will go to people and try to.
But it's okay because you're the bad.
They did it to me.
Yeah, exactly.
They did it to Robert Reed. They did it to well, just about anybody that associates me. Like I said, Cheshire, Sweet, Mania, Serrated Kiss. It doesn't matter who they are. They think for some reason that anybody that associates with me, they have to go out of their way to try to vilify me. And by the way, it's had the biggest backfire effect. Why? Because I think truth comes out eventually. And I think that people have realized that everything we've been saying, that Bullinator, myself, Reg Rhetoric, we're saying about these people have been demonstrated to be the case over and over and time again. And by us not even have to do anything.
The funny thing, and I'll tell you, like I had the people who came at me and said, oh, this person, they're just not going to work with you now. They're not going to have anything to do with you. We can't have anything to do with you. My attitude to them is, okay, well, fine. I mean, I'm getting told that people who I've never worked with won't work. I'm like, I don't care. If they don't want to work with me because I associate with someone that they don't like, bad luck. I don't care, whether it's Steve, whether it's Ed, Ilya.
Isn't that the antithesis of the type of critical thinking we should be promoting?
Yeah, right. It is. But then they go after, it's the way they go after, but then it's what I actually liked, and it cracked me up. And you can see some of the people who, I guess, you had done some stuff with that then very quickly turned on you. I always kind of have a little bit of a smirk, because I know one of the things they tried to get me with is, we'll help you grow your channel, we're going to do all this, we're going to support you, we're going to make you big. And my attitude is, that's not what I'm here for. I'm not.
Yeah, that really worked out for a lot of the people that were talking, negativity about me and trying to run scripts that were completely falsified. Those channels are no longer around. Many of them have left the community because, again, I believe in the long run, truth will always come out, and truth will always be the deciding factor to people that want to know the truth. Because I've never hid anything. People can come to me, and here's what a lot of my haters don't realize. I have hundreds of people, literally hundreds, if not even, I don't know, like thousands of people. I'll say a couple hundred, but they have come to me and they've asked me directly questions, and I've always given them answers. And so in the background, the haters don't see these things, and they don't recognize that I've built up a very strong base of people that know they can come to me and they're going to get straight answers. And Chris, you've done it. Moon's done it.
Yeah. Look, I've come to you and I've said, hey, mate, I've heard this, and this. What's the story? And you'll go, here it is. And you'll show me stuff, and it's like, cool.
I haven't always agreed with Steve on stances, but that's not what it's about for
We're
me.
done. We're done. We're done. It's
We're
over.
done.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, okay. I need someone else to start blindly leading me through the fire.
You got Punchy. Punchy
Ed.
can do it.
No, Ed's our next cult leader.
Oh, Ed's the next one? All right.
All hail.
Oh, hell, the grumpy.
No, I've
But-
already led a
What's
cult.
wrong?
I'm not doing that again.
You've got experience.
What drives what drives me crazy the most is there is just a lot of what I feel is hypocrisy. The things that some people are stating they're fighting for are the same things that they are doing. It's just in a different way. So, you know, I don't even know what I am, if you want to know the truth. I don't know if I'm an atheist, agnostic, or whatever. And to be quite honest with you, I haven't put a lot of thought into it. And maybe I should, but I just don't. I put more thought and effort into my behavior regardless. So, you know, I care more about how I behave and how I treat other people than I care about where I fall on the spectrum of atheist, agnostic, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean?
I'd place it in more apathyism. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, why, if you're not interested in that topic and you don't want to even bother with it, that's perfectly fine. Nobody should care one way or another, to be honest with you.
But the biggest reason why I've taken a step back from that aspect of the community is because of where I see some of the creators going. And there are some creators over there, and I don't care to name people. People in the chat earlier were saying, name them. I'll name exactly who I'm talking about, but just keep in mind, if I do, it doesn't reflect on the other creators on the panel. These are solely my opinions. But there's one big creator over there that I think people worship like a god, and I don't get the appeal whatsoever. And that's Mr. Atheist.
I knew you were going to say that before you even said it. I just knew that was where you were going.
I find him to be egotistical. I find him to be irrational sometimes in his strong stances, where he's not willing to hear other people. And, you know, to me, he seems very much, it's my way or no way. And I don't agree with that. I think as atheists, you should be willing to coexist peacefully along the side of other people who may believe differently, if it's all for the greater good of humanity. And if you're not willing to do that, then you're doing humanity a disservice. And are you really a secular humanism? And can you claim to be? No. So that's just my opinion. And it doesn't mean that anyone else on this panel feels that way. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact time he said this, but from my recollection, people might remember it. Mr. Atheist used to say that he was a narcissist at one time, and I don't think he's changed from that. Now, I wrote a letter. I wrote an open letter that is on my blog to Mr. Atheist, because I will tell you right now, and this is, again, my opinion, but I think it's pretty well demonstrable if anybody objectively looks at it, that he actively lies to his subs, that he actively deletes comments, that he does not want anybody to disagree with him. And I called him out because he lied to people about the court case on the Non Sequitur show. He absolutely lied. It wasn't even a matter of stretching the truth. He knew there was a cease and desist. He knew that he wasn't supposed to be streaming to that channel. He knew firsthand we had a partnership. We had discussed it with him. He was one of our first people that we had on the show. And then he has the audacity to just say, well, Kyle, Kyle told me he owned everything, blah, blah, blah. No, he didn't. Absolutely not. And I wrote a letter to Mr. Atheist saying, look, here's what you need to do, I think, to kind of get out from under this if you want to be an honorable person. He completely ignored it and shut down anybody and deleted them and just basically blocked anybody that would ask him about any of this. I find that to be absolutely dishonest.
Well, I've sat on something for about a year now, and I'm actually gonna tell the story. And I think I've mentioned it to you, Steve. So you know this, and I think Jay knows it as well. When I first came into the atheist community, I was sort of followed a lot of these people, and it's Mr. Atheist was one of the people I followed and watched his stuff, because you sort of come in blind and you see these big channels and you just start watching it. You start learning. You start discovering the community. Anyway, Mr. Atheist had put out a video on what was going on in Australia with some legislation surrounding the Religious Freedom Act. Now, he made some just demonstrable errors in it, and just things that weren't not necessarily from a political point of view, but he did make some mistakes in it, and I was frustrated, and I think I'd made a comment that in a reply, I can't remember who it was to, basically saying something along the lines of, I just wish that people wouldn't comment on things that they don't know about, because he made a lot of errors. He's jumped on that. So me with about 100 people following me on Twitter at the time, and him with 100,000, he jumped on that and tagged me in it, had a go at me, and how dare I disagree with him, and I sort of sent him something back saying, look, this is actually I'm involved in Australian politics. I'm familiar with the legislation. I'm happy to send you links. It's you've got a few things wrong. Happy to have a chat to you. So if you want to correct anything, you can, or if you don't, we'll so be it. Now, keeping in mind, this is something, and I've made it pretty clear, this is something that I do. This is something that I've been actively involved in. This is something that I'm involved in politics. So, the political party that put it together, I was a candidate for that political party in the election the same year. I was very familiar with it. I've worked with a lot of community groups who are trying to get submissions done regarding this act. Rather than that, he just went on the attack, absolutely went on the attack, and then all of a sudden all these minions came after me.
Mm-hmm.
How dare I disagree with him? And his whole rationale for being right was, how dare I accuse him of not researching his art, his videos thoroughly enough. And he sent a link to his whole thing was, he got it from The Guardian, which is one newspaper. It's actually not a newspaper, it's an online paper that's very one-way political, which is anything that the current government does is bad. It's like the Fox News, but on the other side, I guess, is the best way to describe it. And that's where he got his information from, one article that was kind of vague on a few things. I've come out as someone who actually works in this in the country, but he wants to attack me because he's the expert on it, apparently, because he's got all these subs. Anyway, all these people went after me. I ended up sending him something saying, look, I'm not an enemy, but hey, can we just call a truce here, please? Call the minions off. Yeah. And he did, but that was my introduction to the atheist. I almost quit that day. We were actually, that all happened while we were were away for my wife's grandmother's funeral, and my phone was just blowing up with these notifications. I almost walked away that day from the entire atheist community.
Do you notice though that Mr. Atheist will only go after people like like fruit on the ground stuff? I mean, like the whole Baptist fundies thing. Okay, those are easy targets. Let's be realistic here. Any kind of actual argumentation, I've never seen him do. I've confronted him on numerous things. I said, dude, you don't even know how to have a proper argument.
Let me go off of what Chris said there, and let me explain this first. I am part of the atheist community, I guess you can say, because I am an atheist. My channel, I started to do my channel to focus on hate groups and racism. And I did that because I was a white supremacist for 20 years. And I gave up everything. I gave up my entire life to change my views and fight against hate and racism. So for all of these people who think that they are, some kind of big time influencer and everything like that, and you want to try and tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about because you read a book, I don't care what bullshit book you read. I lived that life. So don't tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about, because my life experience is definitely better than some fake ass book written for a theory.
Yeah, they alienate the people that they should be very inclusive with. I mean, and I don't understand that at all. It doesn't help them at all.
I want to clear something up too, and because I want to be a little bit careful with how this goes. I love the atheist community. I think the atheist community, there are some of the best people I've ever met in my life. In fact, everyone here I have met through the atheist community. The people who are in the chat that I get on very well with, I have met through the atheist community. So this isn't an attack on. I don't want this to be an attack on the community. I guess it's more an attack on aspects that I feel are infiltrating the community, and maybe it's just my way of saying, hey, maybe we all need to be aware of this, and all need to be mindful, and all need to make sure that if we're going to. Okay, I call myself Atheist Pastor. So while I'm doing this, I am representative of the atheist community, I believe. So I think that there's a certain responsibility that I need to act with in that case. Now that's my opinion, and maybe that's not something that an opinion that everyone needs to have. But I would like to think that me 5 years ago, or however many years ago, getting out of religion and looking for something. If I find something with atheists, because I mean, everyone comes to YouTube, everyone comes to Twitter, that's where people go. If I find people who are representing the atheist community, which I am doing right now, I am representing the atheist community, whether they want me to or not. And I take that responsibility pretty seriously, because the misinformation that the churches put out about what the atheist community is like actually it's not always misinformation, because sometimes that is exactly what it looks like. I know people who are absolutely atheist, who will have nothing to do, and they don't want to identify as an atheist. They'd rather call themselves secular, because they don't want to have anything to do with the atheist community because of the perception that is there of the atheist community. And I think it's an unfair perception.
Let's define what you mean by atheist community real quick, because I think that a lot of people misunderstanding what it means by having a community, Chris. Because community is just a group of people that have like purpose, mind, characteristics, principles, properties, things are similar, right? And there's obviously there's some.
I'd say people who actively engage as atheists as part of a group. So
and I agree with you, right? And that's why I don't consider myself part of the atheist community, because my channel's not dedicated to promoting atheism. I'm not an atheist, but that doesn't mean I don't associate with very well-known atheists and people that do promote atheism, and doesn't mean I'm even against that, right? I'm not against people promoting atheism at all.
Yeah.
Same with me. I don't find myself to be a part of the atheist community at all. I find myself to be a part of the debunking / skeptic community, right?
Which is great. Yeah. Takes a village, man.
Which is a good thing, and potentially a sad thing at the same time, because people don't feel that they can identify with this community. And I think one thing that we, as humans, we do is we tend to, and I think it's a tribal thing, it's the way our brain chemistry works, we tend to, if our tribe is saying something, we tend to follow it blindly, and we tend to just believe it. And I think that's what happens. It's a lot of these, the bigger atheists out there, and this is nothing to do with them, because it's a lot of them are doing some really good work, but the people will just blindly follow them and just accept what they're saying, like you would at a church. Mm-hmm. And I feel that there can be a problem with, I think people are afraid to have discussions, and I think people are afraid to disagree. I mean, Steve, you and I disagree on a number of things, and we'll have conversations. Sometimes we'll change each other's minds. Most of the time we don't, but I think we should all be able to go into conversations accepting that if the other person disagrees, we might not change their mind. It doesn't mean they're right, doesn't mean they're wrong, and it certainly doesn't diminish where they have experience in that area, which I think is what Ed was talking about. People can disagree with Ed. People can say, Ed, look, I understand what you're saying. I completely disagree with you. I think you are wrong. But that doesn't mean that Ed doesn't have something that he can give. It doesn't mean that Ed doesn't know what he's talking about. It doesn't diminish what Ed has to say. I mean, we all have different opinions. We all have different thoughts. If we all had held the same opinion, the same thought, well, there'd be one political party, and that would be it.
But here's the thing: you have to be able to have a mutual respect for your interlocutor, right? You and I have never ever once had any kind of words with each other. We get along fantastic. There's just nothing about you that I find to be egregious, or I'm going to get angry with you on. Your positions are your positions, and we discussed them, which has been the whole thing from the Great Debate community from day one. That's what my channel was actually predicated upon. That was the whole thing by Non Sequitur Show. Opinions are sacred, and so when you see people though. You're not going to have a decent conversation with them when they just shut you down by fiat, or they go after you personally. And that's what the atheist community as a whole, and I'm sorry, Chris, but as a whole, because I'm just figuring it as a very general thing, the atheist community with the atheist activists, they have made things personal. They have gone after people individually and targeted them rather than targeting what the person has to say. And that is no longer something that I've accepted. And that is why I've distanced myself from the atheist community, and probably why a lot of people as well.
Now, here's another problem. If I have a disagreement with someone and I bring it to that person, what's the need for you to go share that with 20 other people and have them respond for you?
Yeah, and do the pile.
Yeah, dog pile. Yeah, because they want support, and it's funny. I'll give you an example. This the other day on Twitter, and I was talking to somebody about the atheist stuff because they had asked me a question, and I told them.
Hold on, Steve. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is when I go to someone personally through a DM and they make it public.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with you. That's ridiculous. No, and I understand this is a different thing altogether, but I think what happens in that kind of stuff is absolutely egregious. But just to give an example about dogpiling, all of a sudden they start tagging Matt Dillahunty and Aaron Ra, who obviously have me blocked, and they're not going to ever address my arguments. They're just absolutely incapable of doing so. They will not address the logic. People have been calling them out for ages on that. Say, hey, look, you have never addressed Steve's logic on this. And I was like, why would you tag them on this? They're not going to address anything. If anything, they're probably going to block the person tagging them. And they're like, well, I think you should give them a fair, opportunity to respond. Like I haven't for years now. I mean, that's the most dumbest thing I've ever heard. My arguments have not changed in a very long time. I mean, of course they have a huge platform they can respond on. And what does Matt Dillahunty do? Oh, Steve is a bitch of words, and he has to, just abide by what words mean, by what I say that they do, and he's this, and this, and he's just wrong, and he's and that's like that's not honest argumentation, right? That's not an honest response. So.
Honest argumentation is not pointing at someone else saying you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong.
Yeah. And by the way, let me ask somebody. I just was looking at the chat. Somebody had asked, is Steve flogging this dead horse? Has he not learned that nobody cares about this nonsense? Actually, they do care. And that's why I have a following. That's why people read my blogs. That's why people want to learn critical thinking. This is why Cheshire and I have a popular show on these very topics, because there's certain things that if a person wants to portray themselves as a rational individual, but they have some fundamental things in their ideology or in their epistemology that they have a non-sound foundation, how are you going to build anything else from it, right? And so we give them the tools using classical logic and critical thinking that I think has helped many, many people. I get people all the time messaging me, both public and private. Thank you for pointing this out. Thank you for this video. Hey, I didn't know this before. I'm also working with the Guardian Project a little bit. I have a Facebook group that I'm starting, and Mark Pellegrino, who plays Lucifer on Supernatural, he's doing a project on that, and he's going to hopefully come on as a guest to talk about it. That's going to be awesome. But a lot of people are interested in this because, again, it is a litmus test to me about critical thinking. This is why I go back to the whole 0.99 equals 1 repeating. It doesn't matter whether you like math or not. It doesn't matter you think it's a dead issue, whether that is inequality or not. I use that as an objective standard that if a person cannot accept something like that, if they cannot accept something as objective as mathematics, they're not an interlocutor that I'm going to have a productive conversation with. This is what I use to determine where I want to spend my time. And I think other people might want to utilize certain techniques to do the same, because it's only so much time you have invested in educating people. And if you're going to be against somebody who's going to be a brick wall, why waste your time? And so the whole atheism thing to me is a foundational misconception that a lot of atheists have on their epistemological approaches. And so it's not beating a dead horse. It is, I think, fundamental. And that's just my perspective on it. But I got to tell you, a lot of people agree with that nowadays, much more than they did years ago. I have swayed a lot of people to this.
In all fairness, I think we might have a troll or two in the chat.
Oh, they do. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But here's
I went on a bit of a blocking spree at the start of the week, so I think I've removed one or two of the people who I think I blocked on Twitter.
But do you notice that they're demonstrating what we keep saying? When Moon has said that people go after her, when Ed has said people go after him, when Atheist Pastor has said, hey, look, people have said, if you associate with Steve, we're going to try to shut you out your channel, or we're not going to promote you, whatever. These are actual examples of these things happening in real time, which again helps us because we don't have to do a damn thing to demonstrate anything because they're doing it for us.
They are why we can't have nice things.
Right. Now I do want to throw down to Jay. Jay, you have been exceptionally quiet since you got here, and I don't like that because I love the soothing sound of your voice. I mean, that accent, that northern accent, mate. We want to hear what you have to say. To us.
Ed's got more of a northern accent than I do. And he's from Jersey.
I don't know what accent you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't either.
You all sound the same to me. I'll be honest. You know, it's all. I can't tell the difference.
Well, I've been a part of two different communities: the skeptic community and the atheist community. Now, mind you, I'm not an atheist. Before anybody starts going off, I'm not an atheist. I'm a Buddhist. I'm one of the few that you'll actually see that hang around these weirdos. But that doesn't mean I don't agree with what they have to say. It doesn't mean I don't disagree with what they got to say. And we've had conversations where I disagree. But the point is, it's a conversation. It's not attacking back and forth. The skeptic community is just as bad and sometimes worse than the atheist community is. Mm-hmm. I mean, like I said, look what happened to Ilya. You know, I think just about everybody here knows who Tony Designs is. Tony Designs was one of my earliest subscribers. You know, I made him a moderator early on. Hadn't seen him for a while. I had Ilya and Punchy on, and he just went off on the fact that I had them on, and it was like, oh my God, this is what your channel's turned into now.
No,
what does it matter?
It was about me. He went off because I was there because I'm friends with Steve. That was the entire reason he went off.
Yeah, he's got major issues. He is somebody who will go behind the scenes in Discord and actively try to make up stories about people and just, go after them personally. And that's why we distance ourselves. That's why I stopped hanging out with one of the reasons we had issues with Nick Studer from the beginning about how he ran his channel, because he had Tony Designs as a mod Tony Designs actively helped try to delete people from the Non Sequitur Show live chat as he was a mod, and he helped, facilitate, Kyle's removal of me and Bull, and we weren't going to be around that. And we said, look, we're not condemning you as far as canceling you, but we can't be around that. But it was basically business Nick over friend Nick. But Tony Designs is somebody who I want nothing to do with. I don't understand why that is a big deal. And if that is my wish, and that's the wish of the people surrounding me, why does Tony think he has a right to go after these people? I do think that is exactly what we're talking about. He is doing something that I find to be morally egregious when he does this, and nobody calls him out for it. I don't understand.
Well, Tony Designs,
he's getting called out now.
He systematically attacked me on multiple channels. It wasn't just in Jay's chat. He did it on Modern Day Atheist or Modern Day Debate. Sorry, my brain's just throwing atheist out there because that's what we're talking about. But he systematically attacked me there and in other places. It is 6:52 a.m. and I'm still drinking coffee and still feel dead to the world. But yeah, I mean, he systematically attacked me across multiple different channels. Punchy was there for a few of them and told him he needed to back off because it was pretty egregious. And the only reason is because I'm friends with Steve and Chesh. That's it. Yeah. I never did anything to Tony Designs, never had any. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Darth myself puts up a good thing, and this is something I want to emphasise too. Communities are made of people, and people can be assholes sometimes, regardless of their beliefs or lack of. Well, I think any community, there's people. It's full of people, and people, rather than the community, I guess is the issue at times. I guess it's and look, the purpose of this is probably more to make everyone in the community aware of some of the stuff I guess I'm seeing. And some of the stuff that a few of us are seeing, and look, I think most of the people here are pretty cool. I mean, we got a troll or two, but I think most of the people here are probably people who would actually agree with a lot of what we're saying, even though we might disagree on a lot of things. I had to laugh in the chat. Gary Priestley, Gary won $50 last week on this show for guessing the correct song. He knew what I was bopping along to. So I hope you spent that money well, Gary, and didn't donate it to a political party I don't like. But me and Gary, we disagree on
all the time, everything. But you know what? We're probably not going to change each other's minds, but at least what I like about having a conversation with Gary is he helps me understand where the other side's coming from. And sometimes I go, okay, well, I hadn't thought of that. It gives me something to think of, and I understand why they're saying that now. I may
agree with the position, I may disagree with the position, but at least we can have that conversation in a reasonable manner. And he asked if he wanted me to say that he was my favourite troll. He is my favourite troll, even though you're not really a troll, but I'll call you my favourite troll just because I like you so much, and the conversations we've had, you're a really decent person. So I'll throw that out there, Gary. So,
I really like Gary too.
Yeah, Gary's a good guy.
I don't know if I've ever talked to him.
Oh, Gary's good people.
He's good. He's good people. We couldn't be, because he's Australian, and on the political spectrum, we couldn't be. Well, actually, he's at one end, and I'm kind of a little bit to the right of the other end. So I'll put it this way: we're probably not voting for the same people ever, but we have conversations, and that's the thing, and we disagree, and we accept that we're not going to change each other's minds, but we just have a good conversation and understand where the other side's coming from. And I think that's something that people in general need to, even with religious people. I think we're too quick to jump on and attack, especially your average everyday Christian. Here's something, and here's something that's really interesting. In the same week that I copped a lot of shit from people in the atheist community, to the point where I had to block some people, and including some people who I've had a bit to do with in the community. It wasn't easy to block them. In this same week, I actually had someone who has offered to build me a complete website for Atheist Pastor and use their ability as someone who does SEO to help promote it and get it out there, just because they view me as a friend. Now, this is someone who is a Bible-believing, church-going Christian that I used to go to church with, who has offered to build this for me just because he said he wants to help me, and he's glad that I found something to do, and if he can help. And
I think that's awesome. I mean, I look, people know by now, and I've already apologized to the entire internet for this, but way back when, Nephilim Free, you guys remember when YouTube was switching things over? Nephilim Free for like a year, he didn't know how to stream. He couldn't figure it out. And people know I'm not a big fan of Nephi. Let's be realistic here. But I don't hate the guy. I just think he's absolutely moronic, and I think he has no idea what he's talking about. But I have no ill will toward the guy, right? I took an hour of my time because I messaged him. I said, look, dude, I will help you figure out OBS and how to stream, blah, blah. And I took about an hour and a half of my time to show him, right? Even though I know he's putting out misinformation. Because my reasoning was this: I'm not into cancel culture. Him putting out misinformation allows more people to demonstrate that he's wrong. It was one of those trade-off things. Right? Because he only has like 6 people watching. He's not a major threat. But I wanted people to see bad creationist argumentation. He's not swaying the minds of anybody. He's just preaching to people that automatically already believe this stuff. But I did what you did, atheist, what that Christian did to you. We might have fundamental differences. But he needed help, and I helped him. What's wrong with that?
Nothing. That's it. And I will say, it's jokingly, my friend who offered to do this, he said that he's convinced that what's going to happen is I'm going to get this massive platform as an atheist, and then I'm going to reconvert to Christianity, and it's going to be great.
That's why. That's called Brett Keane.
So he did say that, but he said that sort of tongue in cheek, and he's someone who he was there at the start of my Christian journey, and was someone who I was very close. He's probably the one Christian who, having left, has always kept in contact with me, has always been a decent person, hasn't just talked to me to try and reconvert me, or get the brownie points. Let's reconvert the old pastor so I can get like 10 Christian points. He's always just held a genuine friendship with me, and Christians could learn a lot from him. I always say to him, he's the only real Christian I know. But I think, I guess, getting back to my point, there are decent people within the Christian community, within the Muslim community, within pretty much every community. There's arseholes within every community too. But I think what we should always try and do, and I hope anyone who's taken the time to watch this understands that the point I'm really trying to make is we shouldn't be cancelling people. We shouldn't be blocking people over differences of opinions. It's even if we don't want to talk about it, we respect that people have different opinions, as weird and wacky as they might be. But the main thing I'm trying to really get here is don't use atheism or use atheist organisations or atheist platforms to promote every other bloody cause and cancel people who are genuinely atheist allies and interested in wanting to become a part of and know the atheist community, especially for people who have just left religion and maybe haven't converted to your way of political thought yet.
What do you think that,
And
for example,
along with that, stop telling people they have to choose.
Yeah.
There are no picking sides. You can support both sides, even if they have differing opinions.
Absolutely. And let me ask you this question, Chris. If my goal was to be some major successful YouTuber, if I was all about the money or the stature or the subs, don't you think I would have hitched my bandwagon just like a lot of people did to the atheist activists and just sucked up to them, sucked them off, kissed their ass? Or on the other side, I know a lot of theists, a lot of very popular YouTube theists. I mean, I get along with them quite well. I mean, I just talking to Braxton Hunter the other day. He's got a PhD in theology, and he really thinks I do a great job, and I like the guy. Cameron Pertuzzi, I talk to him quite frequently, or Aspire Philosophy. I could have, hey, look, I'm going to be a Christian. I'm going to go that route. And just, even though whether I believed it or not, it's irrelevant. I mean, you have Brett Keane, who probably never believed, Christianity to begin with. But I'm too honest to myself. I chose my own path to be true to what my personal beliefs are, not contingent upon anybody else. And what do I have? I have theists and atheists who tend to, not agree with me. That's not really the best way to go about trying to have a huge channel if you have two very large groups that don't kind of agree with you, right? So that was never my goal, which it seems weird to me when people try to say to me, well, Steve's just in it for the views or whatever. Absolutely not. That just, to me, is ridiculous, because of course I could have stuck up to Arn. I was friends with Arn, but when he said something that's wrong, when he promotes bad reasoning, when his logic is flawed, I'm not going to treat him any different than I would with a theist that has bad arguments. Why? Because I'm true to myself. And if people don't like that they're not the people that are really going to be interested in watching my stuff anyways.
Preach it.
See, I've always said if I really wanted to have a big channel, I'd go back to Christianity, because it's much easier to grow a Christian YouTube.
Yes, I'll do it.
And it's not hard.
Oh, yeah.
It's not hard to, this bad, that bad. That's the way.
Look at Godless Engineer. He's got 50,000 subs. Doesn't know what the hell he's talking about 99% of the time.
If I was in it for the views, I wouldn't debunk conspiracy theories. I'd be pushing them left and right.
Yeah,
Flat
Earth, baby.
Yeah, flat Earth,
that wasn't bad for the
Freemasons, Illuminati. I mean, the one thing with me is I'm very well knowledgeable in the Freemasonry and Illuminati, and I could easily turn this channel into promoting every single bit of it.
My granddad was a 33 level.
Wait, we're not in this.
Yeah.
So you're telling me we're not in this for the views?
If we were, we're doing
Ilya, you and Punchy might be in for the views, but I mean, you guys are skyrocketing up there. But
I think Ed does really well. Ed does well on his other channel, because we all know that Ed's secretly Darth Dawkins.
No.
That would be awesome. That would be so awesome.
No, it's his OnlyFans. Remember?
Can I run with that narrative?
Oh, yes, awesome. Yeah, that's right. Anyone who hasn't, make sure you check out Ed's OnlyFans page. It's really, really good.
I do not have an OnlyFans. Stop telling people that crap.
Just go to Pornhub, listen to the old dude, and there you go.
Oh,
well,
actually,
what it is Jay actually just gets photos of naked people and then imposes Ed's head.
Ed's head into it.
I do that all the time. That's a big thing.
Yeah,
just did the one I posted yesterday. Oh, it was fantabulous.
As far as I know,
that was a good one.
As far as I know, Gary Priestley and my beautiful wife Amber are in on that conspiracy.
That you're Darth Dawkins?
No, that I have an OnlyFans.
Oh. No, I started the Darth Dawkins rumor. I'll end that one.
Yeah, mind you, it's onlyfans.com/fappyolddude.
Hey, dude, I'm telling you, bro. People want to fap to you. Use it. What's wrong? Use it to your advantage.
Hey,
man.
why not? Why not?
Why not? Hey,
it's all about the views, man. It's all about the views.
If I can make some money off of it, and I was more self-secure about myself, I'd go for it. I would.
Back to a little bit of a serious moment here. Speaking of views, I covered someone on my channel. I what the hell did I call that guy? The Bible Belt Boogin. I looked at this guy's channel. Less than a year ago, he had less than 5,000 subs. And then he started talking about some, kind of far right leaning politics and ideologies and ideas. And within a year, is up to over 48,000 subs.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was all about getting views and subscribers, I would still be preaching the propaganda I did 20 years ago.
I agree with that 1,000%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I've had like JF Garrett on, and we kind of all agree he has a lot of racial issues. I don't agree with him. I'm not a race realist. I think that he's fundamentally wrong on his ideological beliefs. I've had Sargon of Akkad on. I don't agree with him, but we can have the conversations, and that's the difference. But if I wanted to, all of a sudden agree with them and put out these videos of far right leaning or even far left winging, I probably would have double, triple the numbers I have now. But that's not my goal.
Yeah.
If I'd have went the other route and posted the conspiracy theories, I still wouldn't be under 700.
Yeah.
I've been at this. It'll be 2 years in February. I'd be cranking out the subs, but I'm not, because that's not what I'm in for.
Can you imagine if I decided to go the lack of belief atheist route, the easy path? I mean, I was getting well known in the atheist circles. I still have some name recognition, but I was going to be true to myself, and I don't know why people judge that so harshly. Isn't that what the whole atheist community should have been about to begin with? Was critical thinking and express different points of views? But as Chris Atlee points out, no, all they do now is try to cancel people if you don't agree with them.
I couldn't tell you the last time I actually seen a conversation on Twitter where they were actually attacking arguments about Christianity or any other religion.
Right.
It's all of them seem to be just strictly attacking people.
Yeah. I'll give you a perfect example, Jay. I'm in a lot of Facebook groups, right? And in one group, I put in something very, very, very simple. I said, look, I just want to know, what papers have you read about atheism, and what is your favorite paper about atheism? Right? I mean, change that to biology. It's a simple question, right? What papers have you read about biology? What is your favorite paper about biology? And by the way, mine is the human chromosome 2 fusion site paper. I love that paper. But let's talk about atheism. And the comments that I got back were mortifying. They were basically, why would there be peer-reviewed papers on atheism? You're an idiot. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, so not one person told me a paper they read on it. And when they say that there's no such thing, I'm like, okay, so when you go to Google Scholar and you type in atheism, you have Graham Oppie, Dr. Bruce McCormick, Dr. P.K. Moser, Dr. Draper, Dr. Malpass, Dr. Malik, Dr. Burgess Jackson, Dr. J.J.L. Smart. You have all these brilliant people writing papers on atheism, and you're telling me that they don't exist? What am I supposed to make from that? That is like a creationist asking the question, if we came from monkeys, why are there still monkeys?
Yeah.
That is the lowest level of atheism I've ever seen, when people telling me there's no papers on atheism. Absolutely there are. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I know. I've read them. And so when they come after me saying, well, you're wrong, and I'm like, well, here's a paper that's been peer reviewed. What is wrong with it? And they have no answer to it, right? Because they have no idea what the hell I'm even talking about. And yet they're telling me how wrong I am because they watched an Atheist Experience video, and Matt Dillahunty says this. That's not a refutation.
So the thing is, I don't necessarily agree with some of the definitions you use, Steve. And we've had these conversations. But I'm also aware of the fact that philosophy isn't my area of expertise. So why the hell would I actually try and argue with you or tell you you're wrong when the reality is I'm probably agnostic on the position, because it's simply something I haven't researched. It's not my area, and I don't know. And see, I think it's okay to say, hey, here's my opinion, but okay, yeah, well, I don't know enough to argue the point, Steve. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that.
No, I don't. Absolutely not. No.
And that goes back to what I said earlier. People wanting to come tell me I'm wrong when I explain to them what a hate group is, what makes up a hate group, what makes up somebody being a white supremacist. Well, you're wrong, because this book says, I don't care what your book says. I was a white supremacist, and I'm telling you what I used to be.
Exactly. And the thing is, I mean, look, people can argue from an academic point. I don't think there's any issue there. But when you actually say, hey, I've got the lived experience, I think that's a completely. And let me use an example. I could read a million books and a million academic papers on the experience that African Americans go through in the USA at the moment, and I could be very knowledgeable on the academic side, but that doesn't mean that I can really argue with someone who has a lived experience about that. If someone with a lived experience comes and says to me, this is my lived experience, and this is what I'm telling you. For me to go, well, hang on, I read this paper and that paper, so I think that's where the line draws. And I think even in academia, that's something that's completely accepted. I think where Steve's going, obviously with philosophy, it's a different thing because philosophy isn't necessarily. Well, maybe it is a lived experience.
Well, quick. I mean, Geoff wants to know some papers about agnosticism. If you want to read some good papers on agnosticism, I would highly recommend Stanford Cyclopedia, which is Atheism Agnosticism by Paul Draper. That's a brilliant paper, 2017. Dr. Graham Oppie, 2018, called Atheism, Agnosticism, Elements of Philosophy and Religion. Very good source. It may not be specifically about agnosticism, but it does talk about it. You might want to read even Anthony Flou's Presumption of Atheism, Dr. Malik's Defining Atheism and the Burden of Proof, Dr. Jane Friedman, 2011, Suspending Judgment, deals with all about agnosticism. Very good paper, by the way. She's a New York University professor. So there's a lot of papers out there you can read about these topics. So I would actually recommend Suspending Judgment by Jane Friedman, 2011, if you really want to know some intricacies about agnosticism.
There's a good question for you here, Ed, and I think it's a fair one. Ed, you'd agree that your experience as a white supremacist isn't the only path to becoming one as well?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Definitely. My experience was my experience. There are, and that's the thing. When I tell people that this is how I became a white supremacist, and they're like, oh, well, that's not, how that happens, because this book says so. I'm like, I don't care what your freaking book said. I'm telling you, that's what happened with my life.
And don't you think it's more important, for example, like you, who as a self-admitted person who used to be racist for 20 years of your life, with your life experience coming out of that, and now wanting to completely have a 180 position on it, you're the people should the most want to talk to. You're the kind of person who has changed their minds based upon what you've reasoned, what you've looked at, your objective evaluations of things, and yet we shun people sometimes by people saying, well, he used to be a racist. So the hell what?
Yeah, people like myself, Christian Picciolini, Jeff Scoop, Jesse Morton, there are quite a few formers, and I'm part of that community too. Since we're talking about communities, I am part of the formers community. I am a former white supremacist.
Yeah, and I got a lot of respect for that, man. I think somebody who could come out of white supremacy and want to be able to go against it, that's one of the greatest transitions imaginable. You should be praising those kind of people.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to say this, and
Jeff's
people
is fantastic.
Well, people can accuse me of being part of cancel culture or whatever. I don't care. Robin DiAngelo wrote a book called White Fragility. I want to let everybody know, first and foremost, that I tried to contact this woman personally after reading some of this non-peer-reviewed book. Mm-hmm. It has so much detrimental information in there. It is unbelievable. She does not know what she's talking about. She is completely wrong in her ideas and ideologies. And that book has caused more damage towards the cause that I stand for now. That book does not help fight against racism. It promotes it.
Sorry, really quickly, I just want to address something. There has been a couple of people that I've blocked from the chat, which, yes, I see the irony when I'm talking about cancelling people and things like that. Look, we've had a few trolls that have just come over for the specific purpose of wanting to troll Steve.
Those are not honest interlocutors. You're not cancelling anybody.
So I've got no issues. If people want to come and have genuine conversations, there's no dramas. They're just here to troll. Really, they can just fuck off. I'm not that desperate for views and subs. And there's a few people.
Hey, but I promised you to be co-host on Non Sequitur show, didn't I? Is that So that was my.
No. Me and Cheshire are just going to take that over.
I've already planned on that.
Yeah. We're getting Sweet Heathen to lure you into a false sense of security. Then we're
absolutely.
And then we're going to break Kyle out of jail. We're going to bake him a cake with a key in it. That'll be really.
The fugitive.
But no. So look, I just want to say
I'm on the way to Kyle, so pick me up.
But no, look, my attitude, people in the chat, I'm happy for people to disagree with any of us, to ask questions, to want to have discussions and debates within the chat. If you're just here because you're one of Steve's trolls, well, really, just go away.
What's the point of them doing? I don't understand. All they do is prove what I've been saying. It just literally demonstrates in real time that these people are not interested in actual conversations. They don't understand the topic. They're not on a level to even have a discourse of any kind of. And it stops
other people from having conversations, which is what we want. We want the good people to have conversations with the other good people. Yeah, but and also look, I blocked about a week ago, I went on a bit of a blocking spree. I copped, especially because the American election was on, I copped a few Twitter pylons because, I didn't drink the Kool-Aid and agree with the, even though on a stream, I did say I hope Biden wins, which is my genuine opinion. But because I didn't drink the Kool-Aid, or, I had, have certain political opinions, there were a few people who caused pylons. In particular, there was one pylon, and I'm not going to name names here, but there was one pylon where a narrative that I was criticising this person on the other side of politics constantly and bashing them and going after them, and caused a pylon to me. Which, okay, fine. The only problem is I'd never actually criticised this person. I think there'd been one post that was remotely anything to do with them in the previous month. There was nothing that even suggested it, but it was, this narrative had been created, and I don't think it was created with bad intentions. I just think that some people just, so I blocked that person. Anyway, I've had a few people wanting to jump onto a bit of an attack bandwagon ever since, because how dare I, and this person's sort of taken it the wrong way. The irony is I was actually going to unblock them. I just needed a break from them and the pylon they were causing for a day or two, because I've got actual things in my life that I do without having my phone buzz at me every 5 seconds, because this is going on and that's going on. This person.
I turn off notifications on my phone. I can't.
Yeah, look, I tend to
silent mode.
But at the same time, there's actually conversations that I do want to have, and that's why if I'm engaging with people on Twitter, it's because I want to engage. So look, that's caused a few people to come and I guess, be a little bit more active and in the trolling sense.
Well,
if you're here to troll,
what do we tell people on Caffeine Corner about cultivating and culling? You want to cultivate the audience, you want to have discussions, you want to cull the people that don't. That's not cancel culture. That is, who do you want to have around your channel? Who do you want to have wasting your time and the guests' time? That's what I do. And so when people say, well, Steve, removes people from the live chat, or Steve blocks people, yeah, you're damn right. Why? Because I'm going to cull people that are not going to be productive, not be beneficial to me or my guest. It's not going to happen.
And to be clear, I mean, cancel culture is where I would say, well, look, Ed, I really don't like Jay, and if you have anything to do with Jay, I'm not going to have anything to do with you, and I'm going to tell people that they shouldn't have anything to do with Jay.
Yeah, or
ironically, one of the people who I blocked over a week ago is still carrying on about it and trying to cancel me, which is kind of the point. And there was about 15 people in the end I blocked. So,
but it's even worse than that.
No one needs to read into who it is, because
that is cancel culture.
You'd be surprised.
That is cancel culture, but it's even worse than that. What would happen when people say, hey, Grumpy, you're hanging out with Jay. Not only am I going to try to prevent people from associating with you, but I'm going to try to take down your channel by mass flagging it, because that's what they do. That's what they've tried to do on many occasions. That is the quintessential type of cancel culture. Or a message YouTube, hey YouTube, this person's saying bad things about me. Please take them down. I've had people try to. I've had, how many times I've had to get with YouTube to explain to them something where people have said something about my videos, and every single time, YouTube has sided with me. Every time. But they do try.
I'm gonna have to hop off here. Well, I have a doctor's appointment that I need to get ready for, but it's probably one of the last few doctor's appointments I'm going to have, because I have
Can I say something before you take off, Ilya? Because
yes.
I want to bring this up real quick. It won't be too long. There is also, with this whole canceling and attacking people, there's a backlash to it. And one of the big backlashes I've seen is between the iNetwork and Sit Down with the Bunkers. Because the iNetwork has been around for a long time. And with their trying to cancel Ilya and Punchy and all that shit, to me is backfired, because you look at the sub counts and how many people they have and everybody that supports them, and he just turned around and is bitten the iNetwork right in the ass. And so, yes, there are repercussions if they continue to do things like this, and people will reap the rewards for it. Good people will reap the rewards for it. I mean, just look at Ilya and all them over there. You know, kudos to you guys. You stuck through it. You stayed with it, and you guys have grown and just showing that you are the to me the far superior channel to go watch.
And I got to tell you, I've kind of stayed out of that whole thing, and Moon knows that. But I got to tell you, nobody had the balls to come to me and say, "Hey, you can't associate with Moon or blah blah or talk shit about her to me."
Yeah.
Nobody. So because I would have gone off. So that was very smart of them not to do that.
Yeah.
See, it's whenever people tell me not to have anything to do with someone, that's when I go, I want to have something to do with
Yeah.
it now. I'm just going to do it to piss everyone off.
I think that at the end of the day, I am happy to move forward from that, and I have been moving forward. There are people that are a part of the iNetwork whom I love and adore, and I think are fantastic people. I think this was a situation with a lot of misunderstandings, but at the end of the day, there were some people who absolutely did not care whatsoever who they hurt. So, but as far as sit down with debunkers go, I love our channel. We are family. And I mean, to be honest with you, like, Bull is one of my best friends on the planet, and he puts his heart and soul into every channel he's a part of. And having him, work with us and having the team that we have, we've come through a lot too. I mean, just as a channel, we've grown a lot and come through a lot together. But he's my best friend.
Wait, you're taking my bestie? Oh, that's sure. Bull is enough.
Bull will choose me over you any day now.
I would lose respect for Bull if he didn't. Okay, I love you.
But I do want to say, as far as this topic
we have to
goes,
cancel now.
Hashtag what about Bull?
Oh no.
Yeah.
What about Bull? No. I do want to say real quick that I do find myself to be more of the debunked skeptic side of things. I try to steer clear of the atheist community, even though I consider myself an atheist. And that has a lot to do with what I've seen from YouTube creators with hundreds of thousands of subscribers and what they're doing with their platform that I don't have respect for, and I don't want to associate with that part of it. I am a humanist. I believe in human rights. I'm an advocate for human rights. But at the same time, I don't think I'm better than anyone else, and I'm not going to treat other people less than, and I'm not going to preach. While I'm treating other people less than, I'm not going to preach that everybody's equal. So I find it to be very hypocritical. I find a lot of hypocrisy in some of those areas, so I steer clear of them. I am a do what you say what you mean, and mean what you say. And that's just how I feel about it. As far as everyone on this panel, I love all of you. I think, Chris, you're one of the best people I've met in this community. I simply adore you. Grumpy old dude, I love you, dude. You're awesome. Jay is one of the best people too, like just a genuinely good person. And I absolutely love Raven. We can get rid of Jay and keep Raven. And
yeah, you're not the first person that said that, by the way.
Hashtag we want Raven.
and then Steve. I don't care what anyone else says about Steve McRae. Steve McRae has never made me feel anything less than comfortable, safe, and absolutely has demonstrated to me time and time and time again that he will be there for me without judgment and love me through some really hard times. So anyone who wants to try to come to me and say anything else, they can shove what they're going to say right up their ass, because he has treated me with more dignity and respect than you people have coming to me with your death threats and everything else just because I'm friends with Steve. So, you're not helping your case if what you're trying to do is pull people away from Steve, because all you did was push me closer to get to know what was underneath all of that. And he's become one of my best friends in this community. So
I love you too,
Thank you.
and I appreciate it. So, what she's basically saying is words, actions speak much louder than words.
Yep.
for sure. And all these people say that Steve IDs people and tells them what to do. Steve has never once asked me for any personal information at all. Every piece of personal information he's gotten about me has been voluntarily given to him by me.
In order for her to be a mod, she had to give me her bank account records, her social security number, her last 5 boyfriends' IDs and addresses for me to contact. She had to give me her dental records, her fingerprints. Yeah, I don't
everything. And then he shared that with me as well, so I could double.
Yeah, I just dox everybody. Dox. Look, here we go. Doxing.
Carl was right.
All right. Well, I love you guys.
Love you.
I am going to go get ready for a doctor's appointment. Thank you for having me on today. I know it was a little
Thank
quiet,
you
but
for coming on.
I got some things in there. So
Yep.
Love you.
No,
Hope it's your last
it's
appointment.
It's always a very loud crowd here, so don't worry about that. But thank you for coming on, and this won't be the last time you're on. We will be getting you on many more times, because I love having you on.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and we need to work out. I need to get all of you
Yes.
over on our channel for some stuff. I know that we have Jay coming up, Atheist Pastor. We need to reschedule our show that we had talked about doing, and then I need to get Grumpy Old Dude on because I have some ideas on a couple of shows I think he'd be good for. And Steve, we have rescheduled the Steve Conspiracy Show, and that's coming up in December, y'all.
I love that. By the way,
thank you. Don't get Steve on. If you get Steve on,
I'm not going to be on it. I'm really not. I'm going to be listening. But Moon, thank you for getting the memo today of the talking points that I wanted you to say about me. I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and Ilya messaged me because I don't remember when I was coming on next.
Oh yeah, I will. Okay. Bye everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Be safe.
She makes a good point there. There are a lot of people. You would expect conspiracy stuff in the flat Earth community and young Earth creationist community and that kind of stuff. But I got to tell you, there's just as much conspiratorial nonsense in the atheist community as there is anywhere else. I mean, people buy into these atheist, conspiracy things about me and say all these things about me with absolutely no evidence whatsoever. And they don't even ask for it any longer. They don't bother. They just accept it by fiat.
Yeah.
Or they're just trolling and they don't care one way or another, which is most of the time.
I am going to do something here, and it's something that I've been of two minds about whether I'm going to do this, because I do want to call someone out, someone who I like, someone who I've done a lot of stuff with before, but someone who I think is maybe they've sort of started to go down a bit of the wrong path for the atheist community, and that's the Daily Atheist Show. I like Chris. I get on very well with Chris. Me and Chris have had some great conversations when he first started. I was on every second night. At one point, we were looking at doing something together, but it just didn't sort of work out that way. I've been concerned with the direction that show's going in, and when I say that it's his show, he can take it in any direction he wants. I'm just going to put that out there. But it's not the Daily Atheist Show anymore. It's not the Daily Atheist Morning Show. It's the Daily We Hate Trump Democratic Party show. So I guess, and look, I know that Chris will jump on and he watches from time to time and he catches up on things. I just want to say it's time to, if you're going to be the Daily Atheist Show, go back to the atheist content, because there was some good stuff. There was some good interviews. There was some real, like the early Daily Atheist Morning Show was some awesome stuff. I mean, that's how I met Ed. The first time I spoke with Steve was on that show on a Sci-Fi Saturday. And I really, really enjoyed what that show was. My concern is someone who's brand new and comes to the community now, if that's their introduction, all it's going to do is reinforce what they're being taught in the churches. And the thing is, as far as the political stuff that's being put out there by the channel, okay, I don't like Trump, okay? But the stuff that's being put out isn't right. I'm going to do a quick screen share just so I can I just want to prove one point. And once again, this is not me cancelling, because I love Chris, and especially go back and watch some of the earlier stuff, and you know, I was happy to a lot of the interviews I did with him. You know, I was one of his Patreons. He was one of mine. We get on. I could have a conversation with him, but I'm just gonna let me just prove a point. Okay, so.
Well, Never, hang on, before you get too far. Never again said, he said yesterday it's time to switch back to his roots.
Yeah.
All right, good. Well, I'm glad that he's said that, because it's basically the daily atheist show has just been the daily let's bash the shit out of Trump show, and even, you know, it's like you see some of the things like this, you know, okay, blame Trump bad for COVID, you know, narcissist, you know, it's just for people who are coming into the community, it's just get back to your roots, because it was such a good show, and I miss the daily atheist show.
Have I been on Chris's show? I watched it a few times. I definitely have watched the show.
You and me were on a side.
Okay, yeah, that was on Chris's show. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I think you're exactly right on that.
Yeah.
It's been a while, but I think you're exactly right. I mean, look, if you're gonna have the nomenclature of the atheist show, and your primary thing is dealing with atheism, then having all this political stuff probably doesn't help much. But again, it goes to what I said before. If you're going to be an atheist channel, if you're going to be an atheist commentator, if you're going to be an atheist activist, it makes no sense to do so unless you have something to actually promote, right? I mean, and this is why when people just say, well, I don't believe you, that's not what are you going to promote? You know, it's like you could sit back and do a God's engineer thing saying, well, I don't believe you. That's not atheism. I'm sorry. That's not in any philosophical sense of the term that helps anybody. When these people just say, well, I just merely don't believe you, that's atheism. Then what are you activating? What are you an activist for? What are you trying to promote? It's silly.
Yeah, exactly. And look, and once again, this isn't a bash Chris thing, because I like Chris. I get on so well with him, and I regret that the last time I was going to be on the show, I ended up having to pull out. I had something, and I know that Jay and Ed know some of the stuff that's going on in my life at the moment. That was kind of when that happened. So, and I had to pull out, and I feel bad that I had to pull out. But with one exception, in the last 3 months, the last 2.5 months, there's been one show that hasn't been dedicated to how much he hates Trump, and Trump's a Nazi, and, you know, GOP bad and all that kind of stuff. And Chris, if you do watch this, or if people tell you to come and watch this, mate, please get back to your roots, because it was such a damn good show. It was the damn morning show, and it was a damn good show. Mate, please get back to the roots of what you were doing. Get back to the atheist content. Stay away from the political stuff, because it's regurgitating the politic.
It's not even that, you know, people have to stay away from it. Just, it's every single day. Like, that's not an atheist show anymore. It's a political panel.
If you do a foray into somewhere else, if you take a side trip and you do other, there's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, look, I realize that my channel has kind of strayed from philosophy and science more than I would have liked, but of course, we're still waiting for this to happen. And so there's been a lot of stuff that I need to put out, and I get this, right? But the roots of my channel,
you're not called the Science and Philosophy Show,
right? Exactly. Thank you. Now, those are my tags, and that's what my channel is primarily about. But I've already said many times, especially the Great Debate Community channel is kind of a catch-all channel. I don't behold myself to any particular thing. My channel doesn't say, hey, this channel is going to be specifically about science, specifically about politics, specifically about philosophy. So why, when people say, well, you're a drama channel, what is drama when you're actually basically informing an audience of things that they want to know about? That's not drama channels to me. Facilitate drama. They want drama for views. Those are drama channels to me. Yeah, exactly. That's a drama channel. Yeah. I don't facilitate that. I don't want people to come to my channel if they're going to be looking to just have drama. I avoid that. And yet people say, well, Steve's talking about drama. Talking about other channels having drama, to explain to people why those channels, I think, are putting out bad information or not critical thinking, to explain to people how to be better critical thinkers, is not in of itself being a drama channel. And to say something like that, to me, even shows the need to have better critical thinking.
Yeah. Now, look, I think, like I said, with Chris, get back to what you're good at. And if he wants to do the occasional politicals, even if every second episode's political, or but I just miss his atheist content. I guess that's what I'm saying. I'm saying he can do whatever the hell he wants with his channel. I just miss his atheist stuff. And Godless Scummer pointed out something. The first time I met Scummer was on The Daily Atheist. You know, it's that was such a good channel for the atheist community and the secular community as a whole. And bring it back, man. Bring it back.
And talking about politics doesn't really bring in the views. Atheist Pastor and I do over and under, which I think is a great show. I think we're really doing a great job with that. We get a decent amount of views, but it's not like it's like that popular. But I enjoy it. He enjoys it. That's why we do it. It's
if I want to do a popular a popular political channel, I'd go on the extreme of it's
Trump bad, Orange Man bad,
or Orange Man wonderful. You go either way, and that's I try and be as subjective as possible, probably to my own detriment sometimes. But look, to give you an idea and on the numbers, and Chris, once again, if you're watching, for his sake, he's got twice the subscribers I've got. He's put out 33 videos in the last month for 5,100 views.
You do need more subscribers. What's up with that?
So I've got half his subscribers, but I still had.
You suck at promotion worse than I do.
But for 3 videos, so it's he's not getting, people aren't watching it, people aren't engaging with it. Apart from the few, he's missing out on a lot of people who would probably did and want to watch his content. Anyway, that's my bit. I love the.
Yeah, I mean, I was building a post up. People should start a separate channel for that kind of stuff. I think.
Well, the funny thing is, and when me and him were talking, one of the things he said, he wanted to do a politics show, but do it as an afternoon show and do it separate from the Daily Atheist. And he was sort of looking at a few different options and how he was going to brand it and what he was, how he was going to have that, because I think he was atheisting at one point, and how he was going to, and I encouraged him to do that. And even I sort of jokingly said, it's me and him could do something similar to what me and Steve do, where we argue the different sides, and that was something we had discussed and looked at. But no, look, I just hope he gets back to his roots. Anyway, we've actually got a question for Steve McRae, and because it's come from Ricardo, who I like. I haven't read it yet, but we'll see what it says. Is it necessary to have an intellectual approach to atheism in order to be an activist?
Well, I wouldn't use that word necessary in anything unless you're talking about what's called alleic modalities, right? Not to be a pedant, but necessary implies a very specific connotation, right? It means that it cannot be any other way, that it must exist in all possible worlds. So I don't like the word necessary, but is it some kind of requirement, or should you have an intellectual approach to atheism in order to be an activist? Well, no, clearly not. But here's the thing. If activists wanted to promote atheism and then they ignore actual logic, and the theist looks at them and say, look, you're telling me that God, about this, about God, or these arguments, but you reject actual logic. How am I supposed to take anything that you have to say seriously when you do not want to reason properly? Right? It's detrimental if you don't take some kind of intellectual approach if you're trying to approach a topic reasonably and rationally, especially if you're there to convert people away from a particular belief or not, right? And by the way, atheists, I think, again, I'm not trying to be too general, but there's a lot of atheists I think are extremely dishonest in their approach by saying, oh, we're not trying to convert theists to anything, because what are they trying to convert them to? Just lack of belief? But yes, they are. The whole purpose behind the movement of atheism was to try to convince people that theism was wrong. That's what a movement is.
I can tell you right now,
no, wrong.
if I'm having a conversation with a Christian or someone who's religious, even though I accept that we'll probably disagree and I'm content that it may end that way, of course I'm trying to change their mind.
Yes,
every single person who has a conversation and where they're expressing a point of view wants people to have that same point of view that they do.
And I'm sorry, but I don't believe you. It's not an argument. Yeah, I don't believe you. It's not an argument. That's not a conversation. That's not a dialectic to say, hey.
And I don't want to convert you is not an honest position. Because I can tell you right now, if I'm talking to a Christian and we're discussing religious issues, absolutely I want them to come around to my way of thinking. Absolutely, I want them to, why be ashamed of that? Why be ashamed of, why try and be sneaky?
And if you're trying to convert people even to not believing in God any longer, which would be converting them to more of an agnostic position, not atheism philosophically speaking, at least be honest with it. Hey, I'd rather have a person who at least is agnostic on the proposition of God existing, rather than somebody who is a fundamental evangelical theist or young Earth creationism that I think is doing detriment to society. Right? That's a fair position. Why hide the ball on that? Why be so duplicitous that you're trying to convince people? Oh, I'm not trying to convert any theist. I'm not trying to change any minds. I'm just telling them, hey, they believe God exists, and I'm just saying I don't believe you. That's bullshit.
Something that was pointed out here, and as much as I can't stand the guy, Genius Snow, he has created a handful of channels where if it's for different content, he does that, and I'll tip my hat to him there, because it's as much as I think the guy's a fuckwit. He's right in what he's done there, and I think that's the right thing to do. It's and the same, and look, I've had that realization too, where I think there was a point where I was probably trying to mix political stuff in with the atheist stuff and just do it on the same channel. It doesn't work. I can tell you right now, it doesn't work. And if I decide to do political stuff, I've got another channel that I will do that on. This is now, you probably noticed that the name changed from, it was Atheist Pastor / Chris Atlee. Now it's just Atheist Pastor, because I'm getting back to my roots. And actually it was a conversation with Pastor Mike from Tart. We had a good chat. He is a cluey guy. I really like Pastor Mike. And it was, we had a bit of a chat about a few things and to do with what is the direction I actually want to go with this, and is it political? Because if it's political, I need to make it political. If it's atheist, I need to make it atheist.
So you'd be political pastor, PP.
Yeah, well, I think there's probably already enough PP pastors out there. There is PP. Yeah, that's good. PP. Yeah, okay. It's not the worst nickname I've had.
No, probably not.
I don't know, Jay, you've been quiet, man. Jay, you're really quiet tonight. I don't like this. What's going on?
Well, I'm just listening to you guys talk and yap and whatnot.
I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, I look at it this way. Okay. I am probably one of the very few religious people in any of these communities. I've noticed most people, are religious and don't deal with these people, or they're only here to attack, or they don't have any kind of religious belief. So I tend to look at it from a different perspective than a lot of people do. But the problem still comes down to it happens on both sides, being the religious or the non-religious or even the agnostics on it, that you can't disagree with them without them attacking you. One of the I've those who follow my channel know that I've talked to Ross Burns quite often. Ross Burns he's a very intelligent Christian, really nice guy. Me and him don't agree on it, but we can have that discussion back and forth without it becoming personal. And that seems that it used to be that way. When I first started almost 2 years ago, that's the way it was. You could talk to somebody. You could have that conversation. Somewhere within the last 2 years, it's turned into you disagree with me, now I attack you. And I attack you, I don't attack what you're talking about. And we need to get away from that. We need to get back to what we were at. I mean, it wasn't perfect then because you still had the people attacking, but at least you had conversations. And that was one of the greatest things I liked about Non-Sex Show as well. I was a patron to it.
Same.
Is because they could bring on people with different beliefs and have a conversation. I mean, yeah, you get your dumpster fire. Who doesn't love a good dumpster fire? I've seen some great ones. There were some great dumpster fires on Non-Sec. But there were those conversations where you had the two people that disagreed but actually had the conversation.
Yeah, we're going to be going to something like that again, modified. We don't want to do the same exact formula. We want to be always ahead of the curve. Mm-hmm. So I have a lot of ideas. Cheshire has a lot of ideas. Belinda has a lot of ideas. We've had a great synergy together, but we can't.
You promised me I'd be the co-host, though.
Who are you again?
Actually, incidentally, me and Steve have never ever spoken about Non-Sec, and he's never promised me that I'd even show up on the thing. So it's funny when people tell me that I'm
how many people have I promised to be co-host or show up on the show? Because I don't remember any of this. I
want on.
Incidentally, sorry.
I do want on. At some point, I want to come on.
Oh, absolutely.
But no, what I was going to say is when this whole
work and you can take it over, that's fine.
When
me and Chesh have got control of it, Jay, we'll get you on as a co-host.
All right, that works.
Yep. Everyone can be a co-host.
You and Jimmy.
But what I was going to say was,
Oh yeah,
I've talked
we'll
to
do a phone-in
Steve.
show.
I talked to Steve about the non-sex stuff when it happened. Other than that, me and Steve don't talk about it because it's not something we need to talk about. I follow it. Trust me, I know exactly what's going on. But I had a conversation with Steve when this all went down, and that was it. Because it's not my business. It is my business because I was a patron, but it's not my business to get into the drama, to get into the attacks. It's between Steve and Kyle. That's, and the others that were involved in it.
What do you since then about it, or brought you in any way, shape, or form? Have I?
No, and
Shocking how that works.
I haven't interjected myself into it. There are times. Oh, there were so many times I had stuff typed out on Twitter. I went, nope. Because
the amount of times we delete things we're about.
Yeah, it's because I don't need that headache that comes with it. Because yes, there are a lot of things I see that come in and people attacking Steve over this whole non-sec thing. There's no reason for it. The blatant lies that I've seen. All they have to do, that video you put out with you guys talking to Kyle, that explains everything.
Mm-hmm.
All they have to do is go back and watch that video
and
explain
why does it comes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even just that video. We have on the record now.
Yeah.
Anybody can see that Kyle was not the person they thought he was. He lied under oath. He committed perjury, committed forgery, and committed submitting some false altered evidence. In my opinion, allegedly, he hasn't been convicted yet. But of course, anybody can look at the documents and see that the evidence is overwhelming that those are the things that he's going to be turned over to the
Well, I'm in another
He was not
country,
liable for
and
fraud.
So I will say that he did it with no fear of repercussion. Now, Darth myself has a question for you, Steve.
Sure.
Are you going to be the non-sec owner and still only do 5% of the work?
That's the best way to do it, isn't it, though?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
But
We're gonna make Chesh do all the work.
They were accusing me early on, because Kyle was running this BS narrative because he didn't have the money. He had to think of something. He's like, oh, well, Steve, told me to pay him at the table. He would worry about medical, blah, blah, which was completely bullshit. It was what I told him was completely different from his narrative that he was running with. There was nothing illegal, nothing under the table, nothing. I want to make sure everything was perfect. I was the one saying, we've got to make sure we do this right. And for him to do a 180 on that, to try to run some bullshit narrative that, by the way, everybody knows now was BS. And he was ending up found actually liable for fraud, fraudulent conversion, unfair and deceptive trade practices, breach of fiduciary duty, and breach of contract. And by the way, as I brought this up to Unirock the other night, it blew his mind because he's not capable of handling simple logical reasoning. In order to have breach of contract, you need something called
a contract.
Yeah, I know that's really hard for some people to get. So the narrative that they're running where we never had a contract, those people I'm never going to have a discussion with any longer. It's just flat earth level stupidity. Of course, we had a contract. We had a verbal contract that was solidified in our emails called a handshake agreement, perfectly valid in the law, well established. And he admitted that there was a 50% agreement and that he was changing the terms of the deal. What other evidence do they want? At that point, they are flat earthers looking at the earth going, yeah, there's images and all this evidence is round, but it's still flat. Why would I want to deal with those people any longer?
Now,
real quick, I haven't contributed to this specific conversation because I don't know anything about it. I don't follow this on Twitter or anything. I know there's some kind of lawsuit or whatever going on, and that's my extent. Steve and I don't talk other than here on Six Pack.
Well, you don't get my memos in the morning? What talking points? I thought you were signed up for the list.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry, I meant to forward them. Yeah, sorry.
For all these,
you're failing me. You're supposed to. I disseminate to you my what are my superior officers? My what do they call them? My staff officers. And you're
I'm a terrible lieutenant.
Yeah, lieutenants. You're supposed to deliver it to the masses. What the hell's going on here?
For all these people who want to, throw me into this mix, I don't have anything to do with this. I don't.
It doesn't
know anything about it.
It was like the same thing. People were like, "Oh, Steve was giving like creep show art, this and that," and I'm like, I've talked to her like once or twice in DM, and she actually made a video before I even talked to her, and she just said, you want to watch it before I release it to see if you got any issues with it. I'm like, sure. And that was it.
Now, something Ricardo asked, and this is actually this is going to cause me to do something that I've been itching to do because it's a historical thing. Who started to normalize personal attacks? Well, personal attacks have been going on ever since we could write. And I want to talk to everyone about ancient Roman poetry.
Good Lord.
Jay knows. You guys know where I'm going. Good. Okay.
I know exactly where you're going.
Yes. So
I'm going to do that poem, but I haven't decided if I want to change the words or not. I might have to put...
I think you need to go for the original Latin.
Yeah, and I'll have to put a disclaimer up before it starts.
So anyone who's offended by naughty words, just mute. Okay, so Catullus. So Catullus was a famous Roman poet, and he wrote all these love poems to this woman who he called Lesbia, who was probably Cicero's wife in all seriousness. But he had all these beautiful poems, and she's elegant and she's graceful and all this. Anyway, a few of his friends decided to give him a bit of a hard time. So he went and wrote a poem directly to his friends. Now, keep in mind, this is pre-Christ. So this is the 1st century BC. This was Catullus's poem in response to his friends who gave him a little bit of stick for writing gay kind of love poems. It starts off quite nice with, I will sodomize you and face fuck you, cocksucker Aurelius and bottom bitch furious. You think from my little verses because they're a little soft that I have no shame? And then he goes on to defend his position. He would have been the perfect person for Twitter. He would have loved Twitter. He would have been replying to everything and going on.
The king troll.
So to answer the question, when did people make attacks on disagreements personal? It's probably been going on as long as people could paint in caves and communicate with each other.
I think you would have. I think you should have had Voltaire on as a guest. That would have been awesome if you could, have like somebody. Voltaire was quite brutal.
And that's the thing. See, this isn't and I guess getting back to the point, the atheist community is a really good community, and the people I meet in the atheist community are generally pretty good. We've got problems like anyone, and I think as a part of that community, I'm happy to sort of say, hey, here's something I can see. And by the same token, if anyone sees something that I'm doing that they think, I'm happy for people to let me know. I'm happy to be aware. So hopefully that's what I've done tonight. That was the intention. There are times where I feel like I don't want to be an atheist because I feel so alienated from the community. And I think that's a sad thing. And I know that if I'm feeling that, other people are feeling that. So I guess that's the purpose of tonight.
I think that's effective tonight. I think this was, again, I love these kind of conversations. I'm always honored when you have me on. I'd like to be on more often if I'm awake. I know you invited me many times because it's just the hour difference, but I'm thrilled. If I'm up at this hour, just let me know and I'll join.
Incidentally, for everyone, it was 2:30 in the morning for Steve when this started.
I set my alarm.
Yeah, there are times I've seen Steve on Twitter going, why aren't you sleeping?
Well, I have weird circadian rhythms, and especially during seasonal change, I've always been affected by seasonal disorder kind of thing. But I've been taking melatonin to get back in my circadian rhythm, and actually doing pretty well. Even though I'm now to be up for since 2 a.m. Because I'm drinking coffee and brandy. But yeah, no, I love these kind of conversations. This is the kind of channel that shows that you can have people that probably don't all agree on the same thing, but you can have very civil dialogue and productive dialogue, and people will like to listen to it. And that's all what my channel has been about. That's what the Great Debate Community channel has been about. That was the foundation for a Non Sequitur show. Opinions are sacred. And I would like to associate with people that have that same mindset. And that's why I stay away from the people that have been trolling, the people that have been blocked, the people that go after people for personal attacks, the people that have say, hey, look, if you associate with this particular person, we're not going to promote you. We're going to, try to shut down your channel. We're going to tell people not to go on your shows. And by the way, again, let me reiterate, that has had the absolute negative effect with people, as been demonstrated time and time again. You think I'm going to have a problem getting guests on Non Sequitur? No, I can have a ton of guests on my shows right now on my own channel, but I have not done so because I want to wait till certain things happen. I'm waiting for to have resolutions. But getting guests not difficult.
Steve, one thing I am going to say, and I'm going to do a bit of a sale job for a friend here. No doubt that you will have some debates on the Non Sequitur show. Now, I'm not sure if you watched the stream that myself and Jay did the other day, where we read the troll comments from our Darth Dawkins discussions. Now, there was two common themes that came up through that. The first one was Darth Dawkins is a dick. No arguments there. Sorry, Ed, if it is you, I'm sorry. but the second thing is that Jay is the best moderator for any debate you could ever have. So I'm just putting it out there.
Well,
if you're having a debate,
I don't want to do
Jay
debate. I know it's called the Great Debate Community. We're going to go the whole like Big Bang. It's not exactly a bang, right? So there's a little misnomer there because I want to. Although it started off doing debates type stuff, obviously had King Crocoduck and Kent Hovind come on and have debates, and I get that, but I think it's kind of run its course. Modern Day Debate has his channel for doing debates, and even I don't like to do that style any longer. So leave people for him to do that because he does a good job at it. If that's the style that people want to watch, we're going to try something a little bit different. I want to say new. Nothing's really new or innovative. What we're going to be doing.
It's not up to you. It's not up to you, there, Steve. It's me.
It's up to Jesh. Yeah, completely. Yeah, but we're going to be doing more discussions.
And Jimmy Snow.
And Jimmy Snow, who runs my channel secretly. Yeah, so we're going to be doing more of real-time roundtable type discussions where, Cheshire and I are intimately involved in the dialogue. And if we want to have co-hosts or co-moderators or co-facilitators or whatever come in, like Jay, that'd be absolutely awesome. We'd love something like that. And we can have a roundtable with like 5 people on a particular topic where 2 people are kind of have diametrically opposing views, but we guide the conversation. It's not just 2 people talking for 2 hours. And there's just no moderation to it because I find those discussions to go nowhere. There's nothing ever productive out of them. And I want to have productivity coming out of the discussions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Good.
I am going to throw one thing out there, though. You've got to get me a conversation with Hovind.
Hovind not a fan of mine any longer.
I need to tick that off my bucket list. Yeah, I really need to.
I'll see what I can do, but he's not a fan of mine. But then again, the one thing about Hovind, if you appeal to his narcissism, he's a little more malleable.
I'm telling you, Chris, all you got to do is make a video debunking him.
Yeah.
And then he'll whack an atheist, and then you can go from there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll
he is really low-hanging fruit. You do realize this, right?
Look. I used to. Okay, and here's my reason why. So I used to do scripture, which is like where you go into schools and like religious education. I used to do that, and what we'd do is whenever we had the older ones, we'd always take Hovind DVDs in, and that was basically scripture class. So I used to show Hovind DVDs to people.
You have so much to atone for. You need Jesus.
So
you really need Jesus.
This is going to be. It would be therapeutic to. I guess it's to undo. Not that anyway. It was a selective school, which is like the smartest of smart kids, and they always gave me the class that was like they graded them from 1 to 5, which is 1, I'm a Bible believing church going Christian, to 5, which is I'm an atheist and I fucking hate God and I'm just here to troll you the whole time. They always gave me those classes. So
do you realize that that's probably worse than having somebody who's been 20 years a racist that to atone for it? What you've done, Chris, I don't know if it's forgivable.
Ed's got nothing on me. I mean,
yeah.
I showed 16-year-olds Hovind DVDs, which none of them bought into, and they all rolled their eyes and argued every point.
You're canceled, dude. I can't take this.
Yeah, well, it's actually that'll grow my channel because if I don't have anything to do with you, Steve, all those other people who
clearly, yeah, that worked for so many people, didn't it?
I'll be at 100,000 subs tomorrow. Canceling Steve.
Why? It's so funny. If all these people can grow channels, why don't they grow them by actually having content?
That's because they're full of shit.
Oh, shocker.
They're full of shit.
I realize my channel.
When Agrippa made the promise of growing my channel, I really just went.
So the guy that actually gave Kyle fraudulent financials that a CPA had even told me was padded and were completely fraudulent. Who writes for Forbes? He knew that those were bad.
Well, the funny thing with Agrippa and Agrippa's a douchebag because I did a bit of background research on Agrippa Agrippa. I know who Agrippa is. Agrippa has no idea who I am. Yeah. Agrippa doesn't know. Like Agrippa makes himself out to be this big business person in the Australian community. I am actually someone who's connected to the Australian business community. he's a no one. He
I
is
know,
an absolute nobody.
Yeah, we know this.
He makes out that he's this big deal. He's a fucking.
He's a legend in his own mind. Of nothing.
He's a glorified fucking sales rep. Let me tell you. And look, I don't mind because he is a douchebag. So I don't know. I've blocked him anyway. Agrippa is a douchebag. But anyway, that's all fun.
Yeah.
So
by the way,
Agrippa, if you're watching, fuck you.
Not just that I get here's a fun fact. Not just that I get Neffy back to streaming. Yes, I guess there's some truth to the fact that I kind of got Hogan back to the internet after his prison sentence. That there is some truth to that. Yes. I'm sorry for that.
He was always going to come back. I mean,
that's true.
He's got a big enough following that look, a lot of the churches that I went to, and I was involved in some pretty moderate churches, and even there was people there who they would give out the Hoven DVDs, and that was seen as something that was okay. Oh, this is because look, Hoven, for all the bullshit he puts out, he's charismatic.
Oh yeah,
and he knows and he knows how to play to his crowd. I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a very, very good presenter. He's certainly a lot better than a Ken Ham or even Eric Hoven.
Without question.
Can present. He can absolutely. I mean, there's a reason
so much better than Eric
steals all his bad jokes. It's because
Eric just parrots and uses Hogan's lines. Yes.
So. And look, it's for the people who don't know, and it's funny because I did a video with someone else who I was told if I ever had anything to do with, I'd be cancelled. John Richards from Atheist Alliance International. John's actually a nice guy. He kind of made a few bad jokes with good intentions, and people jumped on the woke train with him. But I've spoken to him a few times, and I actually quite like John. We did a video the other day where we looked at some answers in Genesis stuff on archaeology, and I debunked everything in about 2 seconds. It's like, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. But the crowd and the people who were there were just there going, because he was straw manning every argument. So, we'd start with, now the atheists and people say that this person never exists, and no one said that.
When am I going to get you and John on my channel? Because John agreed to it. It's just a timing thing. You guys are all over the map on the time zones.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a bad time because he's in the UK. So, see, that'd be an interesting conversation. I think you and him.
I want you involved in that.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I'm happy to facilitate that.
So I'm a little more flexible on my time. So if we could find a time that you two can arrange, I'll get with you on that.
I mean, I spoke to him at 9:30 which is 2:30 in the morning for you, and I think that was about
10 o'clock his time, 10:30 his time.
10:30 his time. Yeah. So we'll make it work. Anyway, we've been going for 2.5 hours. It's actually cracked midnight, so it's actually Saturday for me now. So hi to you from Saturday, everyone.
So you're lying in the title. It's actually Saturday morning 6-pack at this point.
Now Saturday morning 6-pack. Yeah. So no, I wouldn't trust me either. You shouldn't have trusted me.
He's a politician.
That's your problem. Ed, tell me what you've got coming up. I mean, your channel dropped and it's back now. I know you're saying you're not doing anything, man, but just shill your channel for a second, mate.
All right, so I am the grumpy old dude. I do have my videos back up. For whatever reason, they don't show up on the home section of my channel. I don't know why. I don't have a whole lot of links on my channel yet. I'll put them back up. What I have coming up is I'm cleaning house. I unsubscribed from pretty much everybody. I quit following everybody on social media, both Facebook and Twitter. I will probably, start following people and subscribing back to channels, but there are going to be some that I don't because they're toxic for me. I'm definitely getting rid of some stuff, getting rid of some people, different channels and whatnot. And that's not me telling anybody that you don't have to follow them or subscribe to them. That is for me. I am going to be taking a little bit of a break. I don't know when I'll have anything back up, for a new video or anything. And I will not be doing Patreon. I don't know if I'll do it again or not. We'll see. For now, I'm not going to be doing Patreon. I'm shutting my Patreon down. Hopefully here shortly, I will have someone helping me to get back into the workforce or get on disability, one or the other, and then I'll get back to work on my channel. But I need to do some personal stuff and do something with Jay's crooked ass shelf over here, because I really don't
leave
like
that crooked ass shelf. You need to leave the crooked ass shelf.
We're leaving it. I just don't know, where I'm gonna keep it yet, because I don't like where it's at. But it'll still be here.
Never Again's just offered to help you get some of the stuff up. I think as far as getting things back on the homepage. Never Again. What's the easiest way? Probably Twitter to get in touch with you, or?
Yeah, and Never Again. I will try and fix my Gmail address link. Yours doesn't show up on your channel, so I don't know, but we'll get in touch. And I own you, Muppets. Okay.
It's Agrippa, the glorified sales
Nobody
fucking
even
rep.
thinks about him. The guy is so disturbed that he thinks that everybody thinks about him. I don't even, until Chris brought his name up, I haven't thought about him.
No, it's like fucking Beetlejuice. You say his name
Bizarre.
It's
It's psychotic, man. The dude is a sociopath. Nobody gives a shit about him.
Hey, can I show you something really cool? Check this out.
And why does he go after me? He should be going after you. I'm not even Australian. I don't fucking deal with the
Go on. Hey,
you should be his fixation of like whatever his mental issue is. I mean, if he's going to be obsessive, go after fucking Chris. I don't know what the fuck he wants with me. I don't even give a shit who Agrippa is or what the hell he does. I have nothing to do with him. He's a nobody.
This is why I love the block and the remove people from the channel, because hey, he was that upset he had to show up. So
weird. It again proves my point. These people are mentally unwell. Straight up mentally.
That's all right. He should probably learn how to sell something, and then he'll be right. But anyway,
did his business fail because he couldn't promote the product correctly?
Well, I don't know. It's he sort of claimed to be this big business identity, and look, not to blow my own trumpet, but 2 years ago, I actually won an award at the New South Wales Business Awards, with the premier there and a big thing at Luna Park. So I'm not exactly an unknown or a nobody in the local business community. It's but he carries on like he's this big fucking hot shot.
Nobody gives a shit about it.
He did these terrible fucking fake. Like books for Kyle, and it's just like, seriously, mate.
It's ridiculous.
No wonder. Anyway, the good thing is, Agrippa came, he made his comment, and I hit the remove user from.
I've had him blocked for ages.
No, I just blocked him.
Yeah, I didn't
blocked him on Twitter.
check.
I've got zero time for fuckwits. So
let him spend the rest of life. Hey, look, if he wants to spend his rest of life obsessing about me, knock yourself out. I love that, because I'm thinking to myself, I don't have to do anything. I don't think about the guy. I don't even talk about him, and he's obsessed by me. Okay, then
what here's what cracks me up. I mention his name, and then a couple of minutes later, he shows up with a comment, clearly because we mentioned his name.
Yeah, I mean, is there anybody who takes him seriously? Because I want to talk to that person. Like legit. Even Peter Riley from Forbes thinks the guy is incompetent. He looked at his books. I actually even have the CPA that Kyle was even talking to that went over Agrippa's financials and hypermarked them up and explained this is wrong, blah blah blah. He didn't have a fucking clue what he was doing. Shocker, right?
So Agrippa's and look, you can't cancel Agrippa because he doesn't actually have anything.
He doesn't have any cancel.
I'm finished talking about that fucking idiot, and that's all I ever need to say.
I guess I can. Just Jay, want to go next and show his shit, and then or me or.
I don't know.
No, you can go first, Steve, if you want.
You go first, yeah. Hang on, Ed, are you finished? Because Agrippa's interrupted.
Yeah. Listen, if you guys want to, support my channel, that's great. Go subscribe. I would recommend that if anybody did want to support me on Patreon, go to Teespring, Grumpy Old Dude, buy yourself some merch. You'll get something, for your money anyway. Yeah, go get you Don't Be a Bug in Coffee Cup or the, F Racism merch, something like that.
Hey, quick shout out to Peter Harrington. I just saw the DM, and Mate, that's a very good and very apt one. I just drove back from the South Coast over the weekend and saw a few of those. So
talent.
yeah.
Peter's got freaking talent, man. He's no joke. I don't know what the hell he does or anything really about him, except that he's got some mean talent on his memes and.
Oh, and well, he's an Aussie, so I mean, he's got to be right.
So anyway, there's only two things I got to put out there. One, for people that are interested, on the 18th, I'm going to have a pretty well promoted discussion between myself, Dr. Fazal Rana from Reasons to Believe, and Dr. Joss Bowen from Digital Hammurabi on biblical slavery, which again isn't really a topic that I'm exceptionally familiar with, but obviously Dr. Bowen is. And so I'm going to argue that's going to be a really, I think, fascinating topic because I do know both their positions. I do tend, obviously, to Dr. Bowen's position, but we're going to be discussing, actually, if slavery was it indentured servitude? Did God condemn it? Did he promote it? And as what I had said was basically, look, if God has to decide when he wants to put in the Bible between not eating shellfish and slavery, God went with not eating shellfish. To me is pretty odd, right? So, I'm just saying. And the other thing is I'm going to be having probably even today, I think it might be today or this Sunday, I don't know, but I'm going to be going over what's Braxton Hunter's, what he called the Hunter Dilemma, that was on Capturing Christianity's channel that I was looking over, and I think there's a discussion to be had on it, and I think there's going to be an interesting epistemological stream that I do later on, probably either tonight or this weekend. So look forward to that.
Excellent. Ed, you've been told you've got to kiss Amber a lot, so Amber, we're sorry in advance, but the chat has spoken. Jay, what's going on, man? What's happening on the Nevermore Tavern that I just want to say was probably the only good thing that was established in 2020?
Well, this weekend the plan is lots of spoken word stuff coming out. Raven got something coming actually have something from Raven coming, so you guys will actually should enjoy that one. Yeah, I'm not telling you what it is, but
all right.
And then
is Raven reading Catullus?
No, but she did read something. I've got the idea for it. It's already recorded. I just got to put it together. I've been trying to do it all week, but I work 10 hours a day, and by the time I get home, I just don't want to do anything. But then there's also Vogon poetry, Klingon love poems. There's that one for Ed. I'm gonna try to get all these out this weekend. So that's the plan, because I go to work at 7:00 tonight, and I get out at 3 a.m. So I need something to do to pass my time. So I'm gonna get all those done. But yeah, other than that, more stuff. I'm gonna do some music, spoken word stuff. Just read out the lyrics instead of trying to sing them. Stuff like the old William Shatner type spoken word.
He retweeted that.
I love that, Rocket Man.
William Shatner retweeted one of my tweets the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Oh yeah. Unirock's best friend.
Yeah, Unirock and him hang out together.
Yeah. Speaking of though,
with the judge.
Yeah.
Chris got retweeted by somebody I was really surprised about too.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed with that.
Yeah.
Morgan Fairchild.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the comment? I love Morgan.
So my 6-year-old, he's obsessed with America. He's
right.
autistic, and he all he does is just watch educational stuff on YouTube, which is mainly American content. He can tell you every state in America and the capitals. Insanely intelligent kid. But we were watching TV while we were away, and he said, "I want to write a letter to America," because they were showing all the stuff that's going on in America. He said, "I want to write a letter to America." And I said, "All right, well, you write a letter to America, and I'll put it on Twitter so my friends in America can see it." And he just wrote this really nice, simple letter. Dear USA, I hope you have a good day from David.
I saw that. Yeah,
on Twitter.
That's cute.
Yeah. It got reached. It was insane. It went off. It was retweeted. So Morgan Fairchild retweeted. The guy who played Booger in Revenge of the Nerds, who apparently is in Supernatural, also retweeted it.
I'm envious. You had Morgan Freeman. I'm envious of that.
No, Morgan Fairchild.
Morgan Fairchild.
Yeah.
Oh, Morgan Fairchild. I thought it was Morgan Freeman. I'm not a big. Morgan. Yes.
Well, I'm a fan. I'm a fan. She
was she on Dallas? What was she on?
That's it.
It was Dallas?
I don't know. I think so.
No, yeah, I don't remember which one it was, but yeah.
Which show was she on? Oh my God, it's been so many years. I thought she was.
I'll find the letter and I'll put it up for anyone who didn't see it, because it was actually a really sweet letter from a young bloke, and he just loves America. I don't get it, but he just loves America. Here we go. So I'll share this. So this is the letter that came from my 6-year-old, whose handwriting is insanely good.
Yeah, I saw that. That's so cute.
To USA, I hope you have a good day, from David. And he just wanted people, and like he loves Lake Michigan, so I had to get Jay on to talk to him.
Yeah.
One time about actually, I think you spoke to him as well, Steve.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, you spoke to him. Yeah.
I loved it because he's so adorable that he's like he just finds people from America fascinating for some reason.
Oh, he loves you all.
Yeah.
We have to say to him all the time,
it's awesome.
You live in Australia. What about Australian states? He's just like, yeah, he said, but there's more states in America.
Yeah, now let me ask you, does he have the concept of how far away it actually is?
Oh yeah. He understands that. He can tell you he'll probably tell you the size of every state and the population as well. He's
more than Americans can. You tell people like Texas. If you put Texas next to Africa, you'll see how small Texas really is compared to like Africa. It's yeah. So she was on Dallas. Yeah. Search for Tomorrow in Dallas. That's right. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I never was a Dallas.
Anyway, so that was cool. Anyway, I'm going to quickly shield myself, and then we'll jump off because we're at 2 hours 45. So it's like an old school kind of thing. So me and Steve will have Over and Under coming up again in the next couple of weeks. I'll have a chat to you in a second, Steve, and just kind of let you know what's going on. These guys know what's going on. But that will be coming back, and you know we'll discuss the fallout of the election, all that good fun kind of stuff. Next week, so the topic for Six Pack next week is going to be 10 tips for leaving religion, and I've got Oz from the Atheist Roundtable Tart. He'll be joining us, and I'll be looking to line up another guest. But we're just going to be talking. We're going to get back to our roots, I guess, and just talk about fun atheist stuff and how to deal with and how to walk away from religion. So anyone who's in the chat, because I'd imagine most people here are within the secular or the atheist community, send me through your tips. Let me know what tip you would give someone if they were going to walk away from religion, because I'm hoping that it's something that someone who might have been me a few years ago, who is struggling with that, how do I walk away, what's going to be next, I'm hoping it can be something that will be beneficial for them. So that's the plan. We'll see what happens. Anyway, that being said, on that note, good night, good morning, good evening, good everything, good whatever it is, wherever you are. To the USA, I hope you have a good day. And to those not in the US as well. Thank you for joining us. I know there's been a lot of people who have been here for the whole 3 hours. Like, seriously, respect. Thank you so much.
One thing before you go, Andrew says her suggestion for Ed is to do aerobics videos.
But the question is on his OnlyFans?
Yes.
I'm assuming.
No, Jesus.
Onlyfans.com/fappyolddude.
Yeah, Gary Priestley runs that page for Ed. So Gary, if you can get onto those aerobic videos, maybe a bit of Jane Fonda with Ed's head transposed, mate. Let's do it. All right. Thank you, everyone who's been here from the start. Thank you, everyone who hasn't been here from the start. Thank you to the people who are watching this in the future. Look, everyone, thank you for just being a part of Six Pack, because we do this because we really enjoy it. It's very therapeutic for a few of us, and thank you for joining us. Everyone, have a good everything, whatever. Sorry, I'm losing my words right at the end. Have a good whatever it is, wherever you are on this beautiful planet that we all occupy.